massive victory in the second game and the series. It seemed like the casters had gone to Hogwarts because every single time they were casting and made predictions, they just put a caster curse down on poor Big Bongo Boys.
The series is taken by...
And that was Risen Unstoppable 49. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Risen Recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a bang, Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade! But
I actually he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, there was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that. Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 350 on the other side, but I can't punch it, and I can't punch it. But Box is pro in the midst of all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last dies, and she can try right through the sheep, but that does not, unfortunately, have the W enough. Up, they still up, they talk him back to the circuit, but finds one, can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage to Tree back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of the shield that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron they spiraled away from the team fight and took the victory.
The higher ranked Clarity Black, and honestly, performing extremely well.
He can't get out, simply tries to ulti over the wall, but that's crucial. 4 members sent down. This is the freest Baron I've seen. It's incredibly hard to siege anything. As we're talking about that, the dragon does in fact.
This will be a very important fight. Dragon Soul on the line. Let's see.
It's so easy, and the onslaught of shadows into all of the members. We talk about Wombo on one side, we talk about Wombo on the other side, but the whole time is not correctly pinned on enough members to make it worth it and to make it so they can make this comeback. And unfortunately, at the end, CLB.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ryzen Unstoppable Premade League. And today, I'm going to be your host and play-by-play caster, because unfortunately, much like Quicksand's internet cable did go asleep. So, we got I'm play-by-play caster, and we got Mousetrap. Telecaster, introduce yourself. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing good. I'm sad Quicksand's not here to join us today. Unfortunately, his internet has gone out. That is very sad. I don't know what's happening in the land down under right now, but scary stuff. But hopefully he can join us again next week. I am excited to hop into another week of League of Legends. We are just having a little bit delay of a draft, but we should be getting into it really soon. I'm really excited. How are you today, Slidey? No one ever asks you that.
I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic. Having a great day today. Being in college has been quite the humbling and self-finding experience that I've had. Played a lot of Omega Strikers today. It's kind of like League mixed with Smash, mixed with Rocket League. And the game
Omega
just
Strikers
beta. You should definitely check it out. It's actually a really fun game.
Wow.
No product placement, no ad. Just trying to.
we're not sponsored, are we?
Yeah, not sponsored. But make sure you go check that game out after this
Yes.
Risen games, because there's going to be some exciting action here for you today. We got USF White versus Ascendant 5 as we look to get into the draft that started out in the Veigar. First band up for the side of A5.
So, looks like that it definitely has to be some sort of comfort pick if we do look at the roster of USF White. I really need to memorize the teams beforehand, but USF White, just looking to ban out some comforts. That's really important at this level of play. They will respond with an Udyr, so more of a meta ban there, actually.
Yeah, Udyr recently reworked. A very interesting champion, to say the least. It's kind of hard to follow what he does sometimes, but overall, very a tanky, strong champion. And I'm not entirely sure where his win rate's at, but it has to be something at least decently well for a new rework champion.
And yes, that Veigar is indeed a comfort pick for Cheese, who is the mid laner for Team USF White. almost 99 games, almost 100 on the champion so far this season, posting up a 59% win rate. So pretty impressive. Definitely looking to get that off the board. He is not allowed to play that this time around.
Mm-hmm. Unless the bands fly out. We have a Vhagar, a Gangplank, and a Zillion. Zillion, very effective. You've seen him a lot in pro play, especially in clutch situations, but bringing it out and potentially scared of it in game one. Do not want to let the revive come out, and that is kind of a telltale sign that you don't want the enemy team playing a late game sort of comp as the Hecarim is locked in.
Just like last week, we see the Hecarim yet again. His nerfs aren't coming in until the next patch, so he is still as dominant as ever. We'll see if Ascendant 5 are able to use the power of that Hecarim effectively, and they responded by a Tristana Amumu, so looking for a very aggressive bot lane on the other side.
Yep, Tristana Amumu, a very good pairing, not a very known pairing, I would say, but definitely very effective when you have the double bandage tossed and the Tristana rocket jump. You are able to easily and effectively get onto the enemy carries and snowball these leads early into potential late game power.
And Ascendant 5 is able to pick what they want into that bot lane, and it looks like they want to respond with a Misfortune. So, a bit curious, especially immobile AD carries are pretty, not weak, but it can be very dangerous going into a Tristana as a very immobile bot lane, but it looks like that's what they are responding with the Wombo combo of the Seraphine Misfortune.
Yeah, interestingly, we saw this last time we had a series here on this channel. They do opt to go for Misfortune Seraphine, a very effective combo. As we said, Encore plus Bullet Time is insanely effective. But I do quite agree with you that against Tristana Mumu, it can get a little bit dicey, especially in those early levels.
And for USF White, it is dive, dive, dive. Lissandra is picked out to round out the first part of the draft. That is just we are going in, selecting one person, and just unplugging their keyboard. And that is not going to be fun.
They're not gonna, yeah, they can't play the game. Yeah, and ban's thrown out. They want the Skarner ban. I like the concept. They don't want them to have any more lockdown, which they already have so massive amounts of it with the Amumu ulti and stuff like the Lissandra. She has the Frozen Tomb. She has the W. She even has a slow and a Q. It gets quite ridiculous. As you said, they don't get to play the game for a little bit, so they want to make it so they can't play they can even log into the game. They want to be able to even log into the game, so they want to ban out the Skarner.
I'm actually not a big fan of the Skarner ban because, too much lockdown is just not really that worth it. So I don't think they would have been going for any more lockdown. So I'm not a huge fan of the Skarner ban, but that is interesting. However, we do get a spicy pick at the Ivern, which is one of the first times I've ever seen this champion in competitive play. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. Ivern clearly showing that they want to play a hyper carry style. They have a supportive mid laner, a supportive jungler, and they obviously have a support because that's on every team. And so they're really kind of playing around this Tristana to start out with, which is a very interesting idea. Let's see how they round out the comp. They might go for an aggressive top laner to also balance out damage numbers, but we see the Sejuani thrown out on the side of Ascendant 5 and a Victor picked up. How do you feel about this pick? Going for another immobile carry.
I know. I'm just not a huge fan of it. Like, if you look at their comp, there's so many champions that Amumu, Lissandra, Ivern's not really a dive champion, but Daisy could go in. Rengar, another dive there. So, just so many champions on the side of Ascendant 5 that just can easily get picked off by this comp that USF White has selected. So, I'm not a huge fan of the Victor pickup, but we'll see if they can provide the correct peel through the Sejuani, Seraphine, and Hecarim. Their carries do a lot of damage, so hopefully that, I think, is the angle that they're going for here.
Now let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the cat in the bush. The Ivern Rengar coming out in full. You don't see Rengar a lot, especially top lane. And pairing with the Ivern, that's a classic combo. You can place bushes for the Rengar to jump out of. So it can be very effective. It's how they utilize it that's really going to be the deciding factor here. And going for more dive is an interesting idea. However, I will point out that Sejuani, Seraphine, Hecarim can also help with this anti-dive. Hecarim, known for his aggressive offensive play with the onslaught of shadows onto a backline or onto mobile carries, but really that's also a great peel tool. It flees people away and provides a lot of CC, and you can be front line, taking a bunch of hits, and then just boom, You go and help
Mhm.
out your backline. So Ascendant 5 got a really good comp to sort of deal with this aggressive gameplay from USF White. And personally, their draft, first impression wise, is looking pretty nice.
I'm gonna argue in favor of USF White here. Actually, just again, just they have so much dive that I think it would be I think it's impossible for Hecarim to peel everyone off of their carries. You have Lissandra diving in, you have Tristana, you have Abubu, you have Redgar, and honestly, you have Daisy diving in as well too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're going from a draft standpoint, I actually have to side with USF White on this one. I just think they should be able, as long as they're the ones engaging, they should be able to just dash it and just delete the carries on the side of Ascendant 5. However, you are correct in the way that if the peel is done correctly for the side of Ascendant 5, I actually think their draft might be a bit stronger.
And this question of correctly versus incorrectly comes down to the argument of how easy a comp is to play and how important that is in the types of elo matches. And I can completely agree with you on the fact that I think USF Vice comps is way easier to think about, conceptualize, and finally execute in the game. They have every single one of their members playing for dive. Ivern
Mm-hmm.
may be the exception, but he can still walk forward and play aggressively and
Mm-hmm.
not really be in too much threat. But USF White comp is just completely focused on one simple goal. And because of this ELO rating and this ELO average, you would naturally assume that something that works well together is something that all has the same primary goal. And I think that's where USF comp really has the edge here.
And I think also you gotta keep in mind the Ivern Rengar combo. Rengar does better at brushes, Ivern spots them up. So that is definitely something to look out for. Not only do they have to be worried around regular brushes with a Rengar, they gotta keep in mind if Ivern's around, Rengar could dive in from anywhere on the map.
Mm-hmm. And Misfortune, here's the thing, right? Is that you can argue she should run Cleanse here, and I would agree with that she should run Cleanse. Kind of derailing the conversation a little bit, my apologies, but I think it's an important thing to talk about, especially with the composition that USF White has. They have so much lockdown in CC that the Cleanse seems like an obvious pick, but the problem is even if you cleanse one ability, like the Amumu ult, you still have Frozen Tomb. You still have the Ivern Snare. You still have all these slows and these CCs that it's going to be very hard to really keep yourself alive, especially since some of these CCs are point and click, right?
Exactly.
Amumu is sort of an AoE ultimate, but if he's in range, it's basically point and click. You have to flash out of it early. Lissandra at Frozen Tomb, literally point and click. So mobile carries especially suffer, and so do mobile carries really, but especially the mobile ones who need to commit flashes for stuff like Amumu.
Mm-hmm. So we are just hopping into a 3-minute delay. So let's talk a bit more about your predictions. So, like, draft aside, or I mean, obviously drafts should be included in predicting, but just your original feeling. Who do you think will take game one in this series?
I think personally, from my perspective, and I know I'm padding for time with that original statement, but I do actually believe that USF White does have the edge here because of their ease of execution. And I think overall their comp is like Ascendant 5 is more traditional, you know. You got scaling mid, you have a pretty good scaling bot because of the Seraphine. You have tank top, you have a engaging jungler. It's very traditional, very textbook. However, it's textbook is not always easy. You go to college and textbooks are hard to read sometimes. So even though it's been set in stone and it's be written, it's a lot harder to follow than, I guess the analogy would be the picture book of USF White's comp. Very easy to follow, and so I think they will have the edge, despite someone could argue at the top level that Ascendant 5 has the advantage.
I really have to redeem myself because after last week, I was wrong in both of my predictions. So I'm not as omniscient as I would like to be. So I am going with my gut, even though you sided with them as well. I think that USF White will take game one here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, I believe it's an easier draft to execute. It's more, hey, look, there's Misfortune. Everyone go. And then just deleting her before anything can happen. So I just think that's an easier, the kind of pick comp that they've built here is a bit easier. Team fighting, if they go into a 5v5 team fight, then obviously I favor Ascendant 5. They have way more team fighting tools than the Seraphine Ultimate, the Misfortune, Victor even, Hecarim obviously. So I think in a 5v5, I do put my money on Ascendant 5. However, USF White has just so many pick potentials that it should never get to a 5v5 fight for objectives. So I am on the side of USF White. if I go 0-3 on my predictions, I'm gonna be really sad, and I will just stop guessing from there on out, and I'll just say whoever wins wins, because
Whoever
obviously
wins,
I do not know how to read this.
whoever wins does win. But one thing we want to go before we go into the game here pretty soon, in about 40 seconds, is that I would like to point out that last time that team plays, no, USF White wasn't USF White the team we did last cast, or no?
No, we did. It was Clarity Black and Big
Yeah,
Bongo Boys. I
Big
believe.
Bongo Boys. But what I want to point out is that we saw the Amumu versus Seraphine Misfortune matchup already play out. And you have to wonder on the side of Ascendant 5, I don't know how successful it is for other series, but at least the series that we watched, the Amumu was constantly winning those bot lane fights and carrying that into the late game. So they picked a side of the matchup that was not really successful the last time we witnessed it.
Absolutely, and it looks like just in order to get into the game, we will just have to go to a very quick break. We will be back as soon as we can. We will be right back.
Welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a
Wake
bang.
up.
Quicksand asleep,
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
but
Come on,
I
come
gotta
on.
say, he was
Go.
smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's trading back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're all, actually, they're not all same solos.
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 3 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't cut to it. But Boxer Pro in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last. Dies, and Chicken Fried Rice to his teeth with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal him. And they call comes back in the circuit, but finds one. Can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage?
And we are getting back into the action. Both teams sprinting it down a bot side. Sick as a 5-man unit. We don't see the traditional 5-point.
Oh,
But in terms
boy.
of level 1,
I said
Lord.
some level 1 shenanigans here.
it's the Tri-Bush.
Who's gonna get the edge here?
They have an Ivan versus and a Rengar, so it might be a little bit tough to want to go for this as the all 5v5 roll. The Amumu with the gauge, but he's in the midst of so many members. Re-engages, but that is a sure sacrifice of his life. It's traded one back. The Huckram dealing a lot of damage with his AoE abilities, but he might be taken low, and now he is taken down. Are they going to trade one back onto the Rengar? They're able to find it. It's a 3-for-3, but now it is a 2v2, and look, they might be able to take out Prince. The Hailblades gets back on the flash forward. One more auto will kill, and it does, but the auto surely going to trade back. No, but the Triumph allowed just to live just enough for Ivern to finish it off for the rest of the team. It's a 5v5 bloodbath, and USF come out on top.
That is the League of Legends we have been waiting for. That's the level 1 we want to see. 9 deaths before the minion spawn is just, you do not see that in a lot of these games, so that is just crazy. That is about as even as it can go. 5 for 4 in favor of USF. Oh my goodness, that was just, you could see it building up. That was an amazing way to start this game.
Yeah, it was such an exciting action, but as I pointed out at the start of it, if you're going into a Rengar in the invade, it can be pretty troublesome because of how he can hop between the bushes, and he has a lot of really great level 1 tools. But unfortunately, if you are USF, like, you probably would have wanted those kills to be on someone else instead of the Ivern. But overall, they also probably got first blood based on the gold difference that we saw there. And unfortunately, I just noticed, do you notice what I noticed here?
I think I noticed the same thing. I believe that Astro Hailstorm has not bought any items, so unless that was not what you noticed.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was referring to. Astronautilus getting pushed in and also getting bullied out of lane. Has no items, you fool! You must base soon enough. But has access to the TP, so...
Yeah, that is a bit of an oopsie on the side of Astro Hailstorm, but, you know, with that tank matchup, it's not the end of the world. He is not going to be the main carry of this game. But yes, that is definitely not what you want to see. Maybe that would have been enough to switch the tide over into his team's favor, but either way, that is rough for Astro Hailstorm. It's going to be a tough lane for him.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. It's even going to be tougher. A lot of pressure on him. But even more pressure being applied by Duralumin, allowing his jungler, because both junglers are pathing topside here, so they both potentially looking for the scuttle. But the one that has prio on the top side is that Rengar. But in the mid lane, it is all Victor. So we could see a 2v2 brawl turn into 3v3 real fast on the top side.
With Imaginary Champ backing up, it doesn't look like we'll have as big of a brawl, but
as I would have hoped
yes,
for.
with that prio in the top lane, it actually has swapped over. Astro Hailstorm is pushing this in. He is a level up on the Rengar, but again, just no items. He is at a huge disadvantage, and here comes Ivern and Hecarim. This will be interesting.
Yeah, this is a 2v2 fight here, but the Ivern and the Rengar surely to be favored. The shield comes out, but the level lead is on the side of Astro, and they are just bursting him before he can even get back to the bush to apply more damage. The Ivern wants another one. He wants to trade one back, but will he be able to find it? Yes, he does, but he trades his own life in the end. It's a 1v2, but the Tristana and the Amumu, the comp we talked about early in the game, getting those aggressive kills, find one.
So it is a 2v2 overall for everyone across the map. But finally, Astro Hailstorm is able to be back in base and get some items. He will get the Doran Shield along with the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. So definitely a bit rough for him at the beginning, but now finally with some items under his belt, hopefully he will be able to get back into this game.
The Clown Fiesta has started, and the blood is flying. And the deaths are, people are falling on the floor everywhere. This is such a bloody game already start.
This is what I want to see.
Total kills. You already seen. Oh, but Imaginary Champ looking to take out Duralumin once again. He's trying to run back to his base and back to his tower in time, but it's just not enough. Gets taken down by Hailstorm. No items at the start, but definitely still looking up for him.
I mean, considering he had no items up, he is only about 200 gold up over his adversary in Duralumin. But yeah, you're right. Considering the start Astro Hailstorm had, gotta give credit where credit's due. I think he responded very well, and now that he has items again, is really performing at the level he needs to be.
And Choo Lane getting some vision control on the bot side. Could potentially look for this dragon here. Cha-Cha unfortunately missing the bandage toss, getting slowed up, taking a little bit of damage. Won't be able to look for the re-engage. And we're going to see some trades back and forth on the bot side. But the real idea and the concept of this matchup, if you're the Misfortune Seraphine, you need to poke out this Amumu so that when he goes in, he's not going to be able to get out in time. You want to be able to burst him down in order for Tristana to have no help to follow her up. But Misfortune Seraphine have not done that just yet.
No, unfortunately, with range supports, you always want to look for more poke, just because, especially with hard engages like the Amumu, the lower the health he has, the weaker his engages. So you definitely want to look for more of that poke angle, but it looks like we do have a crowd gathering in the bot lane, but with them backing off, it doesn't look like anything will come of it quite yet.
And Ivern showing himself on the top side. This could eventually spell trouble for Hailstorm, but a quick dash out. But now that they spot Ivern on the top side, blue team could potentially look for the play here. It
is a 4v3, so I believe it will be a dragon going over to the side of... Ooh, I'm blanking on their name right now.
Ascendant 5.
Thank you, Ascendant 5. I believe it should be a dragon going over to them, especially with Ivern showing in the top lane. He does have a lot of his camps to collect on the bot side, so we may see something, but I believe the dragon will just get deleted before he can get there.
In an early dragon take, you don't see those too often in those higher levels of game. Most people prioritize with Herald, but we see a top side fight. The Ignite does get ticked down. He tries to cleanse it off with that W, but overall loses the trade and is forced to flash out.
Yeah, definitely a bit rough for Duralumin at this point of the game. With the repeated gags from Imaginary Champ, no doubt he's going to be pretty far behind. But definitely a bit of a struggle for him at this moment. He does still have a CS lead, so hopefully he can take advantage of that.
And what I would like to point out to our dear viewers is this Victor Lissandra matchup. Despite the fact that it was so bloody in the early game, and we would say USF on top, the big winner of that invade is, in fact, Mint. He does have a lot of gold on his belt, but we see a topside fight. The Sejuani ult wants to make it a 1-for-1, but can she find the necessary damage? No. Duralumin going into the ulti, waiting for his time to strike, and he finds it, and stabs a knife in her back, finding the kill, but Ekron with the onslaught of shadows just burst out. The Lysandra not able to get out of that situation. At LaChacha running for his life. Oh, the Banished stopwatch stone a little bit of time. A good flash to get out of the cage and the stun, and stalls for his life and does so successfully.
So some fancy feet on this side. Oh man, I'm blanking on their name again. It's Ascendant 5 versus. I need to write this down next time. But on the red side, Duralumin coming up with that heal at the last second to save his own life, and then the stopwatch on the side of LaChacha was actually quite incredible, followed up by the flash to keep himself alive. And it was USF white, of course. Yes, I am trolling. I apologize.
No, you're good. It happens. But the big winner, I would like to point out, is Victor. He's 2 kills up and 10 CS over his lane opponent, and also more effective in the late game than something like Lysandra. I mean, you can argue that Lysandra is more effective because of the CC lock and those potential utility that she provides, but if you're looking for pure damage, look no further than Victor. Terrorizing competitive play pretty recently actually. For a long stretch of time, he did dominate competitive play in terms of mid lane control mages, provided so much burst damage. But another good control mage is Lysandra, and she does have these tools to potentially make a comeback for her team.
Absolutely. Like we said at the beginning, just with Lysandra's ultimate, followed up by all the dive that is on the side of USF White. The ability to just absolutely shut down one of these carries on the side of Ascendant 5. I have to say their names so I keep remembering them.
Absolutely. We got A5 and USF, both duking it out. No team's really putting priority to the Herald. Do you think this is a mistake or a smarter play just to say, hey, let's put our priorities elsewhere than getting this objective?
I am a Rift Herald aficionado. I believe that it is one of the most undervalued objectives in the early game. Of course, post 14, it's guaranteed gold for whoever you want to put it on your team. So I've always prioritized early Rift Heralds. It does look like the Ivern is starting it up now, but I always try my best to put a early emphasis on Rift Heralds because I just believe they're so undervalued. But here we go.
It's a slugfest in the top side. The Victor ulti comes down a little prematurely, though. Rengar ulti wants to finds a little bit of damage there, but not enough to really burst him down. Forced to back out. Daisy is the front line, making it a 3v2. The bushes are chaining perfectly, but the Sejuani ult to allow themselves to escape that scenario is really great because it stalls out this Rift Herald, and now they can make the play bot side. A great ult from LaChacha does not, unfortunately, keep him alive because the bullet time is what will finish him off, and it is coming up for A5 in this mid game.
Yeah, just checking the brush, not knowing 3 of the enemy team were there. That is a bit unfortunate for LaChacha, just trying to protect his ADC. But it looks like they will be able to score an objective on the other side of the map now that the Hecarim has shown himself.
Yep. And despite all the stalling that they had, as you said, Herald taken. But which member was it put on? It was this Rengar. They want to put all the resources in Duralumin. You said that's guaranteed gold. I am inclined to agree. If you place it on the tower while you have the wave pushed, that's around 3 plates put into your pocket. Oftentimes, we see the junglers take it so they can pick and choose where they want in the map depending on the game state. But they're saying, no, we know this Rengar is what will keep us in this game, so we're going to put all our effort into him.
Over 1,000 gold up. If you look at that CS lead that Duralumin has accumulated in the top lane, he's definitely have a significant lead over Astro Hailstorm at this time, and it's just going to be even more once this Herald has been dropped. But it looks like they are just trading blows for now. We'll see if something comes up from it later on.
Doesn't seem like too much is gonna, and despite being 1,000 gold ahead, is losing. Put it simply, but the imaginary champ is looking to engage here. LaChacha, Bandage tries to follow it out. Lucas on to the Misfortune, but the exhausts are in both 80 carries, and she's not able to find the kill as the Misfortune flashes over the wall. And now it is the chase. Can they find any more kills? It looks like that answer will be no. Doing a little bit of poke damage for walking away. And the Striking is on. Here comes Mint. That is absolutely right. And finds the burst damage onto the Ivern. The rest of his team could not clean up those kills, but he says, no, I can certainly.
That is just some really good teamwork on this side of Ascendant 5. Just rotating down, finding those kills around the objective. Just really good picks. Well, I gotta give credit where credit's due once again. Just really well played by Ascendant 5.
Yep. They might have played the initial 5v5 that you don't often see, a little bit sloppy, but they are certainly cleaning up this mid game. This Hecarim putting so much pressure on this bot side. You've seen him a lot down there. And Ivan has tried to retaliate, but he's just been a little too late or in worse positions on these plays. Really been a pretty big jungle diff, at least in my opinion, especially when you take in factor the CS difference.
I mean, Hecarim will clear faster than Ivern. That is just a given. Especially since Ivern, taking on more of a support role, does not actually need farm to be effective. But 100%, just the Imaginary Champ has been active on all parts of the map. He's been involved in 10 of the 11 kills on his team. That is just some incredible kill participation. Definitely outperforming his adversary at this moment, but we'll see if the Ivern can recover a little bit and see if he can influence the map in another way.
Lysandra, I was going to point her out because she looked like she was walking up to potentially make a play, but opts to walk back in the mid lane to catch the wave. And it is the Hecarim on the top side as well as the Ivern. This Rift Herald is the next major thing that you got to keep your eyes on if you are looking to see who's going to win this game. Can they get it down effectively? And the answer is actually no. The plates have already fallen off 15 seconds ago.
Yes, unfortunately, Duralumin not able to push the wave in against Astro Hailstorm. So well done by the Ascendant 5 top laner to keep that gold in the pocket of Duralumin.
But it looks like Duralumin wants
give it over. Here we go.
Find a lot of damage, but does have the numbers necessary. And in response, it is now a 4v3 situation when he got them in a pincer move. Lysandra is the first to fall among many, and LaChacha is the second. Victor picking up 2 in this river fight, and if A5 look to take a stake in this mid game.
Dank Candle with the perfect Seraphine ultimate, getting on into all 3 members of USF White in that fight. An absolute brilliant ultimate there to seal the deal and take that objective. Well done by Dank Candle. Finally, the Rift Herald is summoned, but unfortunately it's in his own base, so I don't even know if he'll get any use out of this Rift Herald at all.
And the name of the game of mid game is, or at least mid to late game, is this idea of siege. And if we're looking at which team siege is better, I would have to give that, of course, to A5. Misfortune can siege pretty well. She has zoning abilities, which is a part of the reason you want, part of the thing you want in siege. Because with siege, you want to put a lot of pressure, or you want to have a lot of range. And they definitely can apply pressure with this comp.
Absolutely, and especially since the pick comp of... Oh, we actually might have some action here in the top lane.
Yeah.
Before I finish my point, but apparently not. So, especially with the pick comp that USF White is running in this game, just the objectives are just going to be so tough if they cannot find these picks. If they cannot kill Mint or Prince or even Imaginary Champ before the objective spawns, it's just going to be so hard for them to win these fights.
I'm talking about objectives. Dragon spawning in next minute and 20-ish seconds. Going to be the 3rd dragon of the game, and A5 already has 2. If USF want to get back in this game, they... Oh, Prince wants to try to make something happen on that Ivern, but can't find the damage necessary. The Ivern forced the flash out in that situation. It could come back to bite him a little bit later, but as we look at some of the items, what do you think of the decision to go Shirelia's Battle Song rather than Moonstone? Good? Bad? And why do you think that's the case?
I actually prefer it on Ivern, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of the mobility boots, even though I understand why a lot of people do like them. But as far as the Shirelia goes, I think there isn't a ton of mobility or disengage on the side of... I mean, actually, now that I think about it, Tristana has decent disengage. Amumu, if used right, doesn't have to be the engage and can be the disengage. In fact, I think you're actually right. I'm not a big fan of the Shirelias, and I think Moonstone may have been better just to add a bit more healing and support to his team.
And yes, it's 20 seconds. We see both teams putting all 5 members down here. TPs be damned. There is only one up, and it is on Mint, and he is down here No, he is pushing mid with the team. Could potentially teleport for a flank play, but that is not what Victor is known for. And they're looking to engage early onto LaChacha. Might be the one member come out, but he does have the ability to get out. But Victor is in a bad spot, and they're turning it. But the Victor burst damage is so much, he's able to flash out. And Imaginary Champ is able to help his team member into the back line. Picks up 2. Hailstorm trying to find Chuchala, and the Tristana forced to jump out. Prince cleans up the last kill, and it is turning up a 5, and they look to take this dragon.
Again, if you cannot find those picks with your pick comp, you should not be engaging in a 5v5. Evidence yet again as USF White is just slaughtered in that fight. Astro Hailstorm finds the pick on to LaChacha, and well played. That is now the 3rd dragon going over to the side of Ascendant 5. This is a rough spot now for USF White. They are going to have to get desperate if they want a chance in this game.
Down 5k gold, but what I would like to point out about the fight is 2 things specifically. One of the main things that I noticed was especially the fact that, like, you saw Victor on that flank position. We all thought he was dead instantly. They had the Lissandra, they had the Tristana, they had the burst damage. But the problem with engaging onto a lone member is you leave yourself exposed to the rest of the team. And using all your engaged tools on one member, even when that member has used every one of their abilities, he already used laser and ulti, so most of his damage is already put down onto the field. So, despite the fact that they could have maybe gotten the pick there, the fight still probably would have gone awry, even if they picked them off.
Absolutely, but the thing is, when you go in like that, you need to kill him fast enough to be able to turn onto the enemy team. But just Victor would have died in that fight. A good flash from Mint gets him out safe and sound, and it's just a 3-0 in favor of Ascendant 5. They grab the Dragon, they grab the Rift Herald. They are now up almost 6,000 gold. This is going to be very, very tough, and we'll see if anybody on USF White can help out their team. But now Mint against Duralumin.
He wants to go for this play, though, but he's taking so much damage already from the Victor. But the Victor, using his movement tools and his abilities, wants to get out of here. But Duralumin is on the hunt, wants the auto, the Q. One more auto will finish it off. And despite that fight looking rough at the start, he cleans it up in the end.
That is a 600 gold shutdown going into the pocket of Duralumin. Perhaps this Rengar is the saving grace that they are waiting for, but we'll have to see if that pays off, as now we have action in the bot lane as well.
Yep, Chi is just trying to run here, knows that he cannot win this fight at all, and if he loses that, that's a crucial cooldown of a member on the side of USF that they can't afford to lose right now. The Rengar clawing his way back, trying his best, but this next objective in the Baron Nashor, vision control is the name of the game here. And if you want to look to close this out, you want to look to close it out with a Baron on your side.
Absolutely. I think that is the next objective in mind. Of course, oh, here we go. Perhaps. No. Quick escape there for Cheese.
It's Lissandra versus Sejuani. It was like that top lane brawl in the last game. You know something's happening, but you know nothing really is happening there. Able to quickly
I remember
escape.
last week the top laners were actually fighting quite a lot. It was 2 tanky boys and they just wouldn't die. It was quite interesting, but they were fighting a lot.
Yeah, they're fighting a ton, but bodies didn't really drop in that top side. But getting back to this game itself, we have them spawning the Rift Herald mid. This Misfortune wants to get the gold in her own pockets, and putting that pressure mid allows them to walk up to the Baron here and start to take it.
All right, here we go.
Does they look to go for the fight, or rather would they go for the steal? It looks like based on the positioning of Ivan, they want to go for this fight. The Shreldius is popped early, and Lissandra looks to maybe engage. Doesn't find the rest of the part of the LaChacha engaging onto a couple. Doesn't get enough damage necessary, and the Wombo combo is just too much for USF to handle in this game one. They look to chase them down. Can they catch more? And they do, and it's a quadra for Imaginary Champ on this Hecarim, and they are taking Baron.
Hecarim OP. Well played there on the side of Ascendant 5. Just the wombo combo. Like we said at the beginning, in a 5v5, there just shouldn't be any contest. Ascendant 5 have the better teamfight elements with the Hecarim, with the Misfortune, with the Seraphine, just absolutely decimating that fight. And down goes USF White, the Baron buff. Let's see what they can do with it.
Yep. It's a 10k gold lead. But as we actually heard earlier before this commentary even started, 10K gold leads being thrown is not totally unfamiliar to this casting desk.
That hits a little close to home. I told you that in confidence.
Yes.
We don't talk about my solo queue games on broadcast, okay?
We can talk about them a little bit later because Red Team wants to look to make a retaliation play. They have 3 members sent up to take out Imaginary Champion who's doing so much stuff crucial. They have the lockdown, they have the CC, they have the Frozen Tomb, and they have everything. But Imaginary Champ is healing so much. Barely doesn't trade one back. And I swear, if he got one of those, he would have definitely gotten all 3.
Again, it's just with the pick potential on the side of USF White, it doesn't matter how far ahead you are. Lysandra can just select one person and just say, you cannot play this game. And I am shocked that it almost didn't work. Imaginary Champ just so beefy on this hacker rim. Almost managed to turn the 1v3, but unfortunately does get picked by the side of USF White.
And they can't really do anything, but Seraphine's in kind of a weird, awkward spot. But a great double root onto 3.
That was a triple root. Are we just gonna ignore that? Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of insane. Like the Seraphine's gotta pop it off here. But they're just stalling out time for the Hecarim to respawn because this is the dragon for the soul. The fight's happen around across the map, but it is so much poke damage. The Victor Laser, the Seraphine abilities. It's so much for them to handle, and it's turned from poke to burst, and the Chacha's forced to flash out Luca, the next member, to potentially be taken down, and he does fall by the hands of Victor, with the rest of his team trying to escape. The Lysandra with the E, the Frozen Passage, will it allow her to pass back into her base? And that is a no. Misfortune trying to clean up the last of these kills before the dragon is taken, and they do, and they don't care about the dragon because they can just end the game right here and right now.
Oh my goodness, just the 5v5 potential of this game. I think we need to stop doing predictions because as we learned from last week, our caster curses can be a bit too strong. So I do feel bad for the side of USF White. You can blame that one on us. But game 1 going over to Ascendant 5. Well played by them.
And really well played indeed. Let's see how USF just in the draft in game 2. Before that, we will probably take a quick break. I would assume so. But if not, then we'll just talk a little bit more on the analyst desk. We'll see what's going on here. And how do you feel about that first game? Do you feel like, you know, Ascendant 5, pretty dominant fashion. It was a little scuffed in the early game, but they were able to pull it out and take a convincing lead in terms of the mid-game. How do you think USF White needs to respond?
I think putting all your eggs into a pick comp basket and not playing it the way you're supposed to is just a bit rough, obviously. They did try to go for picks. Like, I'm not saying that they played it incorrectly. It's just once they got behind the 8 ball, it was really hard for them to recover. They did try to go for picks. We saw like it worked sometimes, like the 3-man on the Hecarim that almost didn't work because at that point they were very far behind. But just finding those picks before the objectives are so important. That is why generally team fighting comps are easier to execute instead of pick comps, but pick comps should trump over team fighting comps if executed correctly. So I think if you go for that kind of pick comp on the side, like the side of USF White did, you really got to execute it before the objective spawns, or else it will turn into a 5v5 fight where the superior team fighting power of the Victor, Misfortune, Seraphine, Hecarim, and honestly the Sejuani as well will just triumph in that scenario.
And I do completely agree with you. It's a pick comp that they pick. Draft-wise, I think they had maybe a little bit of edge. Could be argued the other side, but the execution was really what kind of wavered in terms of those fights. And a 5v5 brawl at the start really does kind of imply a thing about both these teams, is they want to brawl and they want to win the early game. So, how do you think these teams will adjust to that? Do you think one team will decide, hey, if y'all are going to play very aggressive early, let's back up and let's play to scale and let's kind of not really play to fight you too early on? Or do both teams try to double down and keep to play this aggressive style that they've been showing throughout this first game?
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it on the side of Ascendant 5. I think I highly doubt we will see that Hecarim again. That champion is just too broken at this moment to see it go through the draft phase once again. So I don't think they will get I don't think we will be seeing a similar draft than what we saw in game 1. However, I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We saw the superior team fighting capabilities of the side of Ascendant 5. I think if you stick to a similar sort of comp, with the wombo combo potential that they have, I think they executed that flawlessly. It was a bit rough at the beginning because they did lose the level 1 fight, obviously. So, bit rough, but they recovered excellently. Astro Hailstorm, not buying items, also set them a bit behind in that regard, but he recovered very well, and Duralumin just couldn't close out his winning lane, and Astro Hailstorm just absolutely played the way he had to in order for them to win that game. So if I am on the side of Ascendant 5, I think they are going with a similar comp. Something definitely has to change for USF. I don't know what they would do, though. That's the only thing.
I potentially have an idea, and it's not necessarily draft-wise, but playing-wise. You saw them play around that top lane Rengar like he was God's gift from Earth, but he wasn't playing to that level that they put the resources in. That Tristana in the bot lane, though, she was playing at a pretty decent level. She had some kills in the early game. They were able to win those 2v2 fights, and if you put a little bit more resources onto protecting that Tristana, maybe that could have been an avenue for a win con. But putting a lot of resources into a Rengar who was losing those 1v1s topside, despite his lane opponent not having any items, it could spell a different kind of playstyle. And especially since your team is so early into the league, you can definitely try to go for more of these crazy playstyles that you don't conventionally run. Maybe they all agreed, let's play around top lane. We're a top lane team. But it's all about finding your style, and I think that's going to be crucial coming into this next game.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we do have to go to a quick break before we can jump into game 2. I'm excited. I hope we do get a 3-game series, but we will see what will happen in the next one. Hopefully, USF has a better answer for us and we have a bit more of a competitive game. But until then, we will see you guys in a few moments.
Welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a bang. Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
But I gotta say, he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's trading back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're not all same solos.
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 3v2 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't cut to it. But Boxer Squirrel in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last. Dies, and Chicken Fried Rice 200 Steep with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal him. And they call comes back in the circuit, flip finds one. Can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage retrieval back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of CLB that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron, they spiraled away from a teamfight and took the victory.
The higher ranked Clarity Black, and honestly, still
find
performing
Akali
extremely well.
Oh, and she can't get out, simply tries to ulti over the wall, but that's crucial. 4 members sent down. This is the freest Baron I've seen, and it's incredibly hard to siege anything. As we're talking about that, the dragon does in fact spawn.
This will be a very important fight. Dragon Soul on the line. Let's see.
This is so easy, and the onslaught of shadows into all of the members. We talk about Wombo on one side, we talk about Wombo on the other side, but the whole time is not correctly pinned on enough members to make it worth it and to make it so they can make this comeback. And unfortunately, at the end, CLB take the lead, and they look to take the game.
And then as we rolled into game 2, Maokai was picked again.
Welcome to the League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring
Maokai, the Twisted Treant.
Maokai is a support tank hybrid.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Bold move.
Overall,
Normally Darius is only reserved for those counter picks, and it looks like they're just going to respond with Maokai.
And the team was entirely green, so they kind of had the aesthetic advantage for the Big Bongo boys. For the first 22 minutes, I kind of got distracted watching the LCS. 100 Thieves did win, to a big surprise of all the casters, and then we moved back into the game, where Baron and Soulpoint were both hit here by CLB.
Towards this dragon, we do have good death running up from base. Let's see if we can get here in time.
And this dragon is down to 9 KHP. They opt to pull it out, so the potential steal is has a lot less potential to happen. The Maokai ulti for the engage. They want to make this happen. The Wombo combo, but the bullet time is just barely out of range, but it's not going to matter in the end. The Deathball comes too strong, but this Twitch is free firing in the backline. Field Death trying to stall time for his AD carry, but in a 1v4, when you're already routed and they're already on top of you, they make it look easy.
With CLB taking a massive victory in the second game and this series, it seemed like the casters had gone to Hogwarts, because every single time they were casting and made predictions, they just put a caster curse down on poor Big Bongo boys.
The series is taken by Clarity Black.
And that was Risen Unstoppable for the night. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a
Wake
bang.
up!
Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on.
Welcome back. We are getting set for game 2 between Ascendant 5 and USF White. We are going to do something a little bit different in the cast this time around. I'm actually going to try the play-by-play, while my partner Slatty, he will actually be your analyst for this game. We are just mixing it up a bit, trying out some different elements. So I'm really excited because I think I'll really enjoy play-by-play. But Slatty, how are you? Are you feeling confident for becoming an analyst now, or?
Hopefully my big ass forehead will come into use here. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I do play this game.
That's a way of thinking about it, but
I do play this game a lot. I also watch a lot of cast in like terms of what was it? I watched a lot of LCS, which is not the hallmark for high competitive play. It's more so in the eastern regions, but you still can find a lot of good information. But the Gangplank banned early.
I will defend the LCS and say they are slightly better than me, not by much, just slightly.
Just a little bit better. But the same bans are kind of thrown around, and we are swapped from red to blue side. Recently, there's kind of been a blue side renaissance in terms of the LCS, where teams will often pick blue side because of the predominance of champs like Zeri, Yumi, Zeri, Yumi, who's the others? Lulu and Sivir. But interestingly enough, we're not in the LCS, and those champs aren't played. So
what?
blue side is still wanting to. The fact that this team, despite losing, still wants to go for blue side does communicate the strength of this side in the current meta.
Yeah. So taking out some of those comforts yet again. Misfortune gone. We're not seeing her again. Vigar, which was Cheese's #1 pick, gone. Hekarib, gone. We are not seeing that OP champion in this game, and instead that would be a very interesting first pick, and it has picked up the Mordekaiser, so definitely not what you would expect from a first pick. What's your take on a Mordekaiser first pick here?
I think it is absolutely trolling. Okay, if I'm going to be quite frank here, I think picking Mordekaiser first pick, there's so many counters to him that it gets pretty ridiculous to pick him first pick, unless they want to take it as a power pick. Are they worried about Ascendant 5 potentially playing it? Could be the angle I could see, but I don't think it's a really strong first pick, especially since you want to pick a top laner much later into the draft, as we see the Yumi picked up.
Yeah, like something like a Yumi, I think is just way stronger of a first pick. The amount of ADCs that she has synergy with, or Udyr, another great would have been first pick. Both of these powerful picks now going to the side of Ascendant 5. Just, I'm not 100% sure what the plan is here for USF, but I'm sure we will see it as the rest of the draft begins to round out.
And Yumi Udyr, a combo that we had a lot pre-rework. Udyr has really fast, really great stun, his old version, and so Yumi pairing onto him, allowing him to speed even further, basically makes the champion more of that champion. I'd like to see how it plays out in terms of Udyr Yumi new one. We see the Janna in Vayne locked in.
So I seen a bit of a change from the mindset of USF. Instead of going all dive, they have a lot of peel this time around. Mordekaiser ultimate, Janna as a champion. Condemn from Vayne E. Just a lot of ways to keep their carries alive this time around instead of deleting the opposing carries. So a bit of an interesting strategy shift here. We'll see if that pays off as Zeri is picked out to round out the first 3 picks on each side. So we are going to have a Yuumi Zeri in the bot lane. I have not seen Zeri since her nerfs. I don't think I've seen her in solo queue once, so that is a bit curious. What's your take on Zeri Yuumi in this game?
I think it's interesting that I even Castle Curse the draft where I said those picks aren't going to be played. They're only playing the LCS, but they lock in the Zeri Yuumi, and I would have been able to flex my big Anos muscles.
We need to stop cursing. I think we just need to stop predicting at this point.
Absolutely. But when you pick a Yuumi and they lock in Janna Vayne, the only response is to also pick scaling, because if you try to play aggressive with a Yuumi, you could go for an angle like a Lucian. But overall, Zeri is a lot more of a, okay, you want to scale? We scale against you. But you know what? I think the Vayne pick I like to point out is that one of Mordekaiser's greatest counters is the Vayne. You can death roam her, but it's kind of the opposite. Call an ambulance, but not for me.
Yeah,
and he goes in the death roam, dodges out of all his abilities, and has the percent max health true damage just to shred him completely. So taking away the Vayne from Ascendant 5 is a great idea, but they do respond in full with Zeri, which is a very big, powerful pick on this current patch. At least in terms of high-level play. We have yet to see how effective it is in terms of a gold plat elo level game.
So mid bans galore as Victor, Yasuo, Adivia, and Lissandra are taken off in the last phase of bans, and one of the safest blind picks available, Ornn. However, Ornn into a Mordekaiser is one of the worst matchups that he could have, so that is a bit of a curious pick on the side of Ascendant 5. Especially with a Vayne on the side of USF. Ornn might not be as tanky in this game as he usually is, so a bit curious there.
Yeah, very interesting. Vayne seeming like a great pick here overall. Ascendant 5 are kind of counterpicking themselves in the Vayne, but we were wrong about the draft last time.
We were, yeah. We gotta keep that in mind.
Castle Curse it again, but Cassiopeia locked in here. Interesting, you don't see it often at all, and also a Poppy for the jungle.
Poppy, a very popular pick into the Zeri, just minimizing those dashes however she can. It's also really good if you can get onto an Ornn, because both his ultimate and his knock-up in his E are conducted through dashes, and they're very telegraphed. So definitely a good pick up there, as we will see what the counter pick is used for. They're hovering Orianna, and it looks like that one will be locked in. So again, just more and more team fighting for the side of Ascendant 5. It worked last time. We'll see what they can do this time around. So looking at these 2 drafts, Mordekaiser not as counterpicked as he probably should have been for a first pick. So what are you thinking on these drafts right now? Because at the same time, we do need to do predictions, because it's kind of our job. So looking at these 2 drafts just on a surface level, not taking the last game into consideration, just you see these 2 drafts in a game, who do you think would win?
I have to unequivocally say USF White. And the reason I say that, it might be a little bit unpopular, because Ascendant 5 has so many, champions. Zeri, Yuumi, Ornn. Champions you don't like to see in your games. At the end of the day, I think USF White and Ascendant 5 have this kind of, Ascendant 5 has completely this idea. We play for 5v5. However, USF White with the Mordekaiser has a unique ability where it can win on the sideline, and they can play sidelines if they need to. Plus, their 5v5 is still pretty good, and this 5v5 is mostly dependent on the game state. How much gold do you have to compare to your opponents? What's your lead on objectives? How can you have good control to start out the fights in the right way? It's not really decided purely by the comps, so having a split push options opens you up to more paths that you can take in the mid game to try to further your lead or claw back a lead. 4v4 and Poppy, they started out B1, B2, B3. Arguably bad, but I think their B4 and especially their B5 with the Poppy is a great counterpick into all their champions.
Absolutely, with the amount of dashes, it can even counter Yuumi. Like Yuumi's lock onto a champion is considered a dash. So being able to ground, they have a lot of anti-mobility with the Cassiopeia, also preventing dashes, just a lot of counter mobility. So it'll be really hard for this Zeri, I think, to really get off the ground. But once once she's able to do that, I think it would be really scary for the side of Ascendant 5. However, so just looking at the drafts, definitely a lot of counter pick potential on the USF side. However, now taking in last game into consideration, what is your prediction for who will come out with the victory in game 2?
A5.
Really?
I know. I said USF White's draft is better, which I think the draft was better in game 1. I think it's better in game 2. I think it's arguably better in game 2, but I think Ascendant 5 have a very clear comp identity, which is really nice. I mean, I said it was great last game, but it's especially great if you are the better team because it prevents you from losing. And I think Ascendant 5, the crucial member that I want to point out here, especially in relation to the comp, is this Oriana. That ball creates a field of zone, which is very hard for marksmen or ranged control mages to really get through. If she's able to place that in front of her front line and place it in areas where she knows the teammates are going to flank, it's crucial in terms of positioning of this ball to basically say, hey, Vayne, you know the ball's here. Try to auto me. Try to auto my front line. You cannot do that because if you do that, then I ult you and then my entire team one-shots you. The only problem is they don't really have too much burst damage to follow up on the Oriana ult. Maybe Udyr. You know, I don't know too much about the new rework, but I don't think they have too much burst to really follow that up. But it can definitely be a deterrence from Vayne hitting that front line.
Speaking of the Udyr rework, for those of you who don't know much about it, it is one of my, I think, favorite reworks because what I love when Riot does this is when they rework champions but keep the identity. Udyr, very, very similar to his old one, but just evolved to the current meta. So I think it is a really great rework for the champion, but he does do a lot of the same things. His E still stuns, his R is still AoE, his Q still is auto attack speed buffer, that kind of thing. But it is more evolved for the current meta. However, one curious thing that I want to bring up, I don't think it's Mordekaiser top, which I actually think is quite wrong on the side of USF, because Mordekaiser into Ord is such a free lane for the Mordekaiser. So instead, putting the Poppy up there is a bit curious, and I think just less gank potential, because I have played Mordekaiser jungle. It is very powerful once you hit level 6, but just the your early gank potential is just essentially run at them, hope they don't see you coming, and that's about it. You don't have a gap closer. Your E, especially with mobility, is super easy to dodge. So I just don't think putting the Mordekaiser in the jungle was the best call for the side of USF. But I have also yet to give my prediction. And what I am going to say is, because I am now 0-3 on my predictions, so I am instead going to root for A5, because if I am wrong, we get a game 3, and if I'm right, I get my first prediction. So it's kind of a more of a strategic pick for me, but and it's a win-win no matter what. So that is my prediction. I'm going for A5 this time around. But in my opinion, I was rooting for the USF draft, but just giving up that free lane that the Mordekaiser can play into the Ornn is just a bit curious. But they might have a plan that I am not aware of, so we also have to keep that in mind as well.
It might be high IQ, but in reality, it kind of looks like they're playing. It's kind of a boneheaded idea, in my opinion, because the Mordekaiser with his E, like you said, hopes for ganks, but Poppy, the Giga Chad of the jungle, literally walks into your lane, stuns you, can flash stun you, can gap close instantly, and she's very effective, especially against a Zeri, who can't, I'm pretty sure, you know, Zeri means in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't buff for the E over the wall because the stun only lands when you hit the wall. So even if you E into the wall, she clips you back, which is crucial. But with Mord, with the pullback, Zeri can just wait the pullback and then E over the wall, or E over the wall at the start. Same with something like an Ornn. He can dash out of that situation before Mord can even pull him back. Poppy can prevent that by Eing and Wing forward. And, you know, maybe it might be effective against an Oriana, but Oriana should be fine in the mid lane as long as she has flash. So overall, I think, you know, if I could go back, I was not told about this Poppy top shenanigans. So I would say even in draft wise, Ascendant 5 definitely has something going on.
Okay, so we're reverting some of our previous predictions. Again, one last quick thing before we go to break that I do want to say is there is still the element of comfort, which is so important at this level. Excuse me, sorry about that. It could just be that Duralumin is just a bit more comfortable on the Poppy than the Mordekaiser, or perhaps it's a cute Chulane, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, who might be a bit more comfortable on Mordekaiser than Poppy. You always got to keep that in mind. However, we do have to go to a quick break for the spectator delay. We will be back with some more League of Legends action in just a moment.
Welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a
Wake
bang,
up!
Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
But I gotta say, he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's traded back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're not all same solos.
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 3v2 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't cut to it. But Boxer Pro in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last. Dies, and Chicken Fried Rice 200 team with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal up. And they call comes back in the circuit, flip finds one. Can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage to Treble back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of CLB that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron, they spiraled away from a team fight.
Welcome and welcome back. We got game 2 between USF White and Ascendant 5. Another bush stack here, but it doesn't look like we'll have the same level 1 shenanigans from game 1. That is a bit disappointing for me. But just a 5 point here for Ascendant 5 as we get set for this game. So, yeah, going into this, we have a bit of a respect in the chat. I appreciate that. We have the good luck, have fun. But going into this game, we did talk about our predictions and everything like that, but if you are the side of USF White, who we have both predicted to lose this game, what do you think is the one way that they could prove us wrong? Like, where is their win con? You have to think it would be the Vayne, but do you perhaps lean more to a Cassiopeia, who is more of a mobility limiter? Like, what would be your call on this?
I'm an 80 carry main. Simple as that. And as an 80 carry main, I have a fat ego. So
I shouldn't have asked.
You should have asked. So it's obviously going to be the Vayne here. And especially with something like an Ornn and Udyr, you do have access to shredding and one-shotting the front line. And I think Vayne at Zeri is a really good matchup. You can dodge out of the Qs in terms of the late game to prevent her from stacking too much. If you get on top of her, you have so much burst damage. You can clean up the Yuumi afterwards. You can dodge the Ornn ball. If you play outside of the range, you can in terms of the shockwave, if you react to it in time, you can ulti Q out, or even if you are getting shockwave, then you're getting hit in, you can ulti Q to get the invis. Vayne has so much counterplay into this team that is really up to whether or not she plays the game well. We'll decide whether USF wins.
So a bit of a curious start then for both of these junglers who, when it looks like their bot liners should be the main carries, both of them are full clearing up towards top side. So a bit of a curious start, maybe not playing towards their win conditions quite yet, and both of them just opting in for a full clear at this point. Looks like Imaginary Champ is just a bit more ahead of his counterpart. That makes sense. The AoE clear of Udyr is just a bit faster than the AoE clear of Mordekaiser. So we will see what each are able to do as the two burly boys in top lane are just whacking each other with their various hammers, as you expect this kind of matchup to go.
And Poppy definitely getting the level lead. But one thing I want to point out about that statement you said earlier about the junglers, both tapping topside despite their bot lanes really trying to play to scale and also play to get a lead over each other because they're both the win cons. Mordekaiser, I don't think it's a bad decision to path topside because Vayne Vayne Janna should always have the push versus a Zeri Yuumi lane. And because of that, you definitely see a lot of things going on. But some action on the top side.
We got a scuttle fight now. Imaginary Champ is trying to go onto the Mordekaiser, who is a level up, but Mint rotates faster. There's the flash, but first blood from the red buff will get the Mordekaiser down first. Mint is in trouble now. Cheese will pick up that kill. Imaginary Champ is running away, but he tries to turn back into the fight, and it is a double kill picked up for Cheese. So USF White, they lose the first blood, but they will get 2 kills in return.
And a great play coming out from USF. They obtain those 2 kills, like you said, and they knew their comp wins those early games 3v3s, and that's what I was saying earlier. They want to play towards this top side because they know Janna will have the push, and they know they win the top side fights if Imaginary Champ goes up for that. And Imaginary Champ, I think it was a lot better decision to path towards this bot side and sort of avoid this Mordekaiser because he is so powerful at fighting.
Absolutely, but again, you have to see that Imaginary Champ did not finish his full clear. So a level down over Q2 lane for that scuttle fight just puts him at such a disadvantage. He does pick up the first blood, barely, with a red buff burn that just managed to kill the enemy jungler. But other than that, that is just a pretty rough start here for Ascendant 5, but we'll see if they are able to recover. But 2 kills onto a tank killer like Cheese, that is pretty rough.
And what most would point out is that the gold lead is 300 in favor of the USF. And that fight went pretty well, but you would expect a little bit more, especially with 4 assists worth of gold and 2 kills worth of gold. But that's mainly because... Oh, wait, what was it? Oh my god. Hold up. Sorry. I just lagged out IRL for a second. My bad. But the CS difference in the Mordekaiser in the Udyr. And the CS is kind of kept even... Not slightly in the favor of USF just yet, but they're clawing their way back. Prince is outstacing the Stain, which can be crucial, especially since he picked the Cole. It's a decision you want to take on the Zeri if you want to play towards... Like, if you know that nothing's going to happen bot lane, that's what you buy. You get a little bit of extra... you get 1 extra gold pure minion kill, so it generates 100 gold, and you can sell it for 180 after the fact. So it is a very useful item for generating gold, and I think it's a great decision here.
Absolutely. Like, Call is definitely a powerful item if you are looking to hit those item power spikes a bit faster and don't need the lane priority that comes with Doran's Blade or whatever other starting item that you would prefer. But compared to last game, this is definitely a bit more of a slower start for each of these teams. You know, we didn't have 9 kills before the minions spawned like last time, so a bit of a different start for both of these teams. Oh, but we have a little bit of action here in the top lane. There comes the flash, plus the ult from Astral Hailstorm. Does manage to get the knockup onto Duralubin, but with the flash away and the shield cannot collect the final blow here. We also have some action here in the bot lane as Imaginary Champ might be looking for a dive here onto Lucas, but the wave is just not in a place to do it.
Yep, they don't have the crash, so there is no game here, but she's trying to look for something topside as well.
Yeah, the roam up to the top lane. Astral Hailstorm just has to run all the way to his second turret, but he was able to chuck out Duralubin well enough that they aren't able to push that wave in. So it looks like both of these top laners are going to lose out on the CS instead of just one. So actually, I'd say that it is a win here for Astral Hailstorm.
Yep, Imaginary Champion tried to make a play bot side because of the stuff that he saw happening to his boy in the top.
Here we go, CC immued. Udyr manages to get the stun onto the Cha-Cha, who is burning down. They will get the kill. Q2 lane blocks Mint into the death realm, but Mint is now running in the opposite direction from his team. The ultimate from Cheese doesn't really get anyone, but Q2 lane will be able to get the kill onto Mint. But the boys are back, and 3 is greater than 1. Cheese has to just run away, but he is just running to an early grave. That is 2 kills picked up on the side of Ascendant 5. Well played by them.
And you know, the very short skirmishes, the 1v1s, we see USF doing their thing, going even and sometimes coming out on top. But it is these 3v3, 4v4 fights that A5 are just dominating on.
The team fighting prowess that we have seen is definitely more A5 favored. They are just performing how they need to in order to win these team fights. However, with the dragon buffs, this is burning down very slowly, and the jungler is able to fully respawn and might actually get a smite off here. This is going to be close. Neither one of them has an upgraded
My
spike, so it
fight.
has to go down to 450 before something can happen. The fight
Like
is there,
reset.
and it is stolen by the Mordekaiser. Well done by him, and the fight turns completely in the wrong direction for A5. We have to stop caster cursing.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is about, and I think what I like to point out oftentimes when I talk about dragons and going from them early, is that in a lot of other regions, you see 10-minute, sometimes 11-minute, even pushing a 15-minute first dragons being taken. And the reason for that is the respawn times are so low. Even if you can win a dragon fight, they can come back and potentially get on it. And that is further exacerbated by the fact that dragons have so much more HP now. It's something that's been in the game for a while, but something that has shifted the meta slowly and slowly to the point where people say, hey, dragons, not very useful in the early game. We'd rather go play for the Rift Heralds, which did just spawn about a minute ago. See which teams play towards it.
As a Belveth main, I ignore dragons completely, so I am more of a Rift Herald taker, but definitely, like, for the enemy jungler to be able to spawn and just run back to the dragon and steal it is just, that has got to hurt for the side of A5. We'll see if they're able to recover from here. So, first dragon going over to the side of USF White. Looks like we might have some action here in top lane, but unfortunately spotted on a ward, Imaginary Champ has to back off as Cheese has roamed up as well.
Looking like Cheese is starting up the Rift here, but we see a fight on top side.
Here we go. We got the ultimate coming in from the Udyr, and now here comes the stun as well. The ultimate from Cheese doesn't really get anyone, and Imaginary Champ is able to get the kill, but he is not done. He is going in onto Cheese. The ultimate from Mint is almost perfect, and Astro Hailstorm is able to pick up that second kill. So, grabbing not one, but 2 kills on a top lane gank. That should be Ding Dong, a free Rift Herald for the side, but we are not done. As now the ultimate from Dank Candle, Lucas is forced to flash away. Prince is trying to go for a bit more, but unable to get it. So getting a flash out from the ADC in the bot lane as well.
They gained so much on the top side, and that's especially they played the fight very well. They had the numbers and they utilized their advantage, but Herald Brawl.
Another steal! The fight is still going on. Imaginary Champ is able to run away, but Mint is locked into the death zone. His friends are running away. I just don't see a way out for him here. Q Chulane picks up yet another kill and another objective where all he had to do was just walk up and press smite. Just GG,
like...
thanks for the leash, boys.
They can't keep getting away with it. We keep caster cursing and we said this morning Kaiser's dog water. He's popping off. It's insane in this top side. But this game, overall, pointing out the play beforehand and leading to that Rift Herald, it was the side of Duraloman and his squad who was struggling. They got 2 members taken down and they were able to take the Heralds. But crucially on the bot side, if you'll notice, the Janna rotated up to help the team. But as soon as Zeri and Yuumi saw that, you could see them immediately go for that aggressive play. They popped the Lost Chapter. They popped the Lightning Crash. They want to get that kill, but the mini wave just barely spawned and let Vayne live. But she had to burn her flash in the end of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, losing your flash on an ADC is usually pretty rough. A lot of mobility for Lucas, though, on this Vayne, so hopefully he will be able to keep himself alive for the next team fight. However, with Dragon spawning in just over a minute here, not going to have a flash available for that fight. Almost all flashes actually on the side of USF White are down, so you have to wonder, will they even go for this fight here at the Dragon, just at a huge summoner disadvantage?
It can be very rough to try to go for these. But I don't think that's really being taken as consideration. No offense to any Platinum players out there, but sometimes at a certain point, once you get to the higher level, you start to really focus on, hey, can we do this without flash? Rather than can we do this with numbers or can we do this with X items? It is those summoners that are so crucial to winning fights. And without a flash on Vayne, it can be very rough to play. But
as a plat player, I'm taking offense to that, but
I'm a
you
plat
are
player
100% correct.
I'm a plat player too, and that's exactly why I know that to be the case. It's not really taken into consideration, but as we talked about the win cons in the earlier, this Vayne and this Zeri, and the Zeri is definitely coming out of top. 20 CS lead, a kill lead. But this Mordekaiser has become sort of the new win con here. Unfortunately, What's interesting about Mordekaiser, we might have some little bit of action here, but they just have to find out. What's interesting about Mordekaiser is that the two ways to kind of beat Death Realm without buying QSS is to either beat him in Death Realm or outrange him or make it so he can't get close enough in range for him to Death Realm. And Zeri is really, really effective at doing that. We see potential fight happening over the dragon, just a little bit of poke.
So a second dragon picked up for the side of USF White. Well done by them. They have 100% objective control. Oh, and it looks like we have another fight here as Imaginary Champ is locked in the Death Realm. Mint is making the walk over, but he might not have a juggler to save. Lane, another solo kill. He is 2 levels ahead of his adversary, and he just puts him into the Death Realm and deletes him from Summoner's Rift. We are not done. Lane is now going after Mint. Mint is going to have to run away to his turret, and just the big hammer comes down and chunks out Mint so hard. Lane is just taking over this game right now.
Yeah, he's really just flopping his big hammer around Summoner's Rift, doing a really great job at just deleting these enemy champions. He's got so much gold in his pocket compared to his jungle opponent. I know you pointed out Ivern last game in the CS lead not being too much, but in this game, the CS lead being big was not very a big factor. But in this game, it certainly looks like it is and is going to continue to be.
Yes, on a farming jungler like Udyr, falling this far behind in CS is not where you want to be. He is now still 2 levels down, actually. I saw the Mordekaiser level up, but Imaginary Champ is level 8 now as well. But still 2 levels down on a farming jungler is just so rough for the Udyr. And definitely we're going to have to see Imaginary Champ really start to switch on the AFK farming route if we really want to see him get back into this game.
And when you're most fed members, the tank, it does cause a little bit of concern if you are an A5 fan, but if you are one of those people stated earlier, a fan of this team, you have to put your hope into Zeri, into Prince with 2 eyes. He's got the ghost and the flash, and he's got the swagger to try to take out the enemy team solo with Zeri, with potentially Yuumi, the cat on his back. You know, I like to call, Zeri when she first launched, Twitch is a rat, of course, but Zeri is sort of a rat. She scurries, she skimpers, she gets right out from under your nose, so it is sort of a cat in the rat situation.
So I was about to say, we still have Tom and Jerry, just in a weird way, that's all.
Yeah, and definitely a different form. Jerry's looking a little bit quirky right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, if you want to put your hope into one member, it would be Prince.
And when did we give Jerry a gun? Like, when did that happen?
When did we give it a gun that, like, shoots
all the time? Here's the flash forward from Lane. Prince is trapped in the Death Realm. Yuumi has to find a new host, but Prince with 2 eyes is just deleted. The flash ult from Lane just deletes the enemy AD carry.
Alright, I think I'm going to limit myself to 1 caster curse per game. Okay.
I think we've already hit the limit on this one, my friend.
Yeah.
I believe you said earlier the only person who has a chance of beating him in the Death Realm is the Zeri with that mobility. But once it actually happens in practice, fortunately, we lost Jerry to another man with a hammer. So,
unfortunately, I meant more so that like Zeri can outrange Mordekaiser in like Mordekaiser can't get in range to Death Realm, but a flash definitely changes things.
That is correct. Flash is it's beautiful like that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, far away ADCs become very close.
But Prince, interestingly enough, doesn't opt to use the flash in the Death Realm, which I think he could have gone for that. He could have opted to use that to dodge maybe one more ability, tank a little bit less damage, and potentially survive that. But decides to opt to save it, potentially for this next team fight. And the Rift Herald is currently being taken down from Cha Chu Lane. Wait, it's Kuchu Lane. Perfect. All right, I got it now. Kuchu Lane. Okay. All right, we got it already because he's probably gonna be the one that we're gonna talk about the most.
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about him this game. 5, 2, and 3 on the Mordekaiser. The current highest level in the game. Actually, I am trolling. Ornn is the highest level in the game, but the highest level on his team. Still 2 levels up over his adversary, and a 700 gold bounty on this Mordekaiser. But is anyone going to be able to collect it is the real question.
Yeah, good question indeed. But A5, most teams that are behind want, and especially when you're behind to the level of objective bounties, you're down around 3k golds, you have to look to make crazy plays to make comebacks, but A5 opting to slow the game down to a snail's pace. They know they win in the scaling, so why would they fight in the first place? But as I say that, they are shutting me the hell up, and they want to fight this dragon.
Here we go. Dragon is spawning. Rift Herald has been summoned in the top lane. Duralumin is coming down to help his team with this fight. So far, just a vision fight as of right now, but we're looking for the engage here pretty soon. Here comes the Orn Horn. Who is he going to get? Unfortunately, Astral Hailstorm is not going to be able to grab anyone with the Orn Horn. Yuchu Lane has Mint trapped in the Death Realm. Here comes the rest of his team. Yuchu Lane is now unstoppable. The Yumi is not going to be able to get anyone with that
There is untouched.
ultimate, and they are just getting decimated on the side of A5. Prince has to dash away, but the dragon is now going over to the side of
He's
USF.
still stacking. Can he find the kill?
Flash from Yukis is responding with the flash of Prince, but I don't think Prince is going to be able to do anything.
They can
He
fight
might
this.
just be leading Tom and Jerry to an early grade. The flash from Duralumin is able to pick off Prince. Another objective gained for the side of USF White and the ace as well.
They wanted to go for broke there, even in the face of a 2v5 situation. Prince opts to fly close to the sun and gets burned up by it. The Janet Tornado really clutch there. I think, if I'm going to be quite frank here, if Prince plays that maybe a little bit better, kites it a little bit better, I think they have the potential to win that because of how high skill ceiling this champion is. If you have correct movement, if you have great spacing and zoning, and spacing master rage with your Qs and stacking it up, Zeri can take over a fight even 2v5 like that with something like Newman on back. But when you are playing in such a high pressure situation, like a regular season game, and you are the last man standing and everyone's watching you, including the enemy team, and the thousands, even millions of viewers at home are watching your every single move, it gets really stressful. And I've been in those situations like that before, and it's kind of hard to recover from.
Oh, Imaginary Champ, this is not the place you want to be as he is locked once again in the Death Realm. It's almost a second home for him at this point. And Q2 Lane will just wipe him off the map. Astral Hailstorm, however, will grab the solo queue against Cheese. I wonder how the heck that happened. As a tank killer, like, Cheese should not really be losing that fight, but well played by Astral Hailstorm to get some gold back onto his own side. But with the jungler down, that just means a Baron for the side of USF.
And they're putting priority on this Baron like they should. Baron is the win con to end the game. In the last game that they had, Baron spawned and they were sort of, it wasn't completely even, but it was sort of the level where the teams could play at an even level. Baron becomes a really cool, crucial objective, but we see them trying to cut off my thoughts.
They
here.
are aware this is happening, but no smite. The Baron is easily picked up. The teleport in from Duralumin will take out Astral Hailstorm. So not only do they not contest the Baron, they will lose their beefy boy in the Horde as well.
And we talk about the scaling constantly because it is just the main factor of this game. And so getting an early Baron to close it out is crucial. Can they end on this Baron, or will they have to wait 5 minutes and 30 seconds for the next one to spawn? And that could be the time that Prince needs to scale up and potentially carry his team. You see him pick up the QSS, is scared of this Mordekaiser Death Realm, knows he can't win in it anymore.
Hell, I'm scared of this Mordekaiser Death Realm at this point. He is just slaughtering anyone who comes across his path. So picking up the QSS, very important here for the main carry of Ascendant 5. La Cha-Cha gets a free tornado onto Imaginary Champ, but now with the Baron pushing in multiple lanes, this is just so difficult for Ascendant 5 to do anything.
And it's interesting. They get back on the map a little bit late, USF, but it looks like they're going to go for a 1-3-1 sort of style. And I think that's a really great idea. You can't really contest a Mordekaiser on the split push, and the Poppy versus Ornn is a pretty even fight. So you're able to put those minions close to the tower, you're able to get the siege, and your mid lane, you have a Cassio, you have Lucas, and you have La Cha-Cha. The only issue I can see with potentially going for this 1-3-1 is that you have no front line in the mid lane. But you have A5, who does have access to the front line.
Poor Mid. Whose decision was it to put Mid up against this monster of a champion right now, as he's just getting poked under tower? But here we go. Imaginary Champion is trying to get the stun onto Duralumin. He is slowed by the Phoenix Storm, but unfortunately the damage is just not quite there for Imaginary Champ. But in the bot lane, Q-Chulane is now legendary. But here we go, there's another fight in the top lane. Astro Hailstorm is not able to get the ultimate off. LeChacha has to run away. The ultimate from Cheese will not get anyone. Lucas will slay Imaginary Champ and will be able to make his escape. Prince is chasing a little bit, but will not get anything out of it. It is now a 10,000 gold lead for the side of USF White, and Q-Chulane is just knocking on their front door right now.
Yeah, USF really knowing how to play the game properly, wants to split up the enemy teams so they can win these fights. But even though the fight was their main member, they got the Mordekaiser in the 9-2 and 5 god. Even though he was boss fight for that entire fight, his team was still so far ahead besides him that they were able to just solidly win that top side fight. This area, you could notice towards the back half of the fight was dealing 0 damage, and that's got to make you nervous if you are an A5 fan.
Absolutely, this is now so scary for the side of A5 as Imaginary Champ is not even able to get his own camps. You're 4 levels down. You're unable to do anything about this, but Q-Chulane, sorry, is now trapping Imaginary Champ. He will get the kill here. I believe no one's in the death zone at this point, but he will get the double kill. Dank Candle will be going down as well. Prince with 2 eyes, unable to get anywhere. Q-Chulane is actually dropping dangerously low. The shutdown will go over to Ventus. Finally, the big bad boy of the Rift will go down.
And that could have actually been an insane team wipe from the side of USF, but if you'll notice at the start of the fight, actually Mordekaiser's Death Realm gets canceled by the CC immune Udyr. He tried to use it on him, but he was CC immune, so he couldn't put him in the Death Realm. There's some interactions like that in the game, but it came out crucially in that fight because Mordekaiser, if he was able to lock down that lone member of the Zeri at the end of it, no shockwave would have come out and the shutdown would not have been given. So stuff like that can really snowball and turn a fight in terms of the later half of it.
Now, 3 items on this Mordekaiser is he's picked up Riftmaker, Rylai's, and Demonic Embrace. He is just an absolute unit. You get caught by any one of his abilities, you will be slowed and just deleted from the map. Imaginary Champ is not even able to get his own camps against the enemy top laner, who is bullying him off of his own camps. Oh, as a jungler, this is just barely even Imaginary Champ's fault. There's just nothing he can do about it.
And USF trying to look to close it out here. Next Baron spawning in 1 minute and 20 seconds. They do not want to take this Elder, I would naturally assume, because Elder is a little bit of a coin flip at certain points. But Imaginary Champ does not have access to a flash, which is kind of crucial for steals. You need to have that flash if you want to go for an over-the-wall play. Or else, you just need to win the fight so you don't have to flash the pit. And he also doesn't have any mobility over the walls. So a steal angle on the Elder is not looking too great. Or a steal angle on the Baron. So they could just wait for the Elder to close it out. But I think they're pretty confident they close it out with the Baron.
Absolutely. With the Dragon now taken. That is a Mountain Soul. Oh, man. This Mordekaiser just seemingly becomes more and more unkillable as the game goes on. As he's now picked up the Cosmic Drive. Just, oh my goodness. He is now Flame Horizon his opposing jungler, well over 100 CS lead for him. And, oh my goodness, you poor man. Imaginary Champ is just solo ulted by Cheese. Just, all the man wants to do is just farm his Raptors, and he's not able to do that.
And Imaginary Champ getting sent completely out of reality there. Not having a fun time in this game as you sent the Flame Horizon. But I want to point out as they're ending the game. Oh, the Death Realm Unstoppable, another one of those interactions.
Yeah, the Unstoppable Ord does not get put into the Death Realm. So a bit of a waste of it ult there from Q-Chulane. But, I mean, at this point, you can give him a few mistakes, and I still think he will be able to solo carry this game, so not too concerned about that right now.
They blast coming over, and they're looking to take the Baron right here and right now, and it doesn't look like A5 has any way to contest. Their jungler was not even up until about 15 seconds ago, and they have too much burst damage. No one is even close to it.
That is now, I believe, a 14,000 gold lead. Oh my goodness, that is just... It's getting a bit too brutal right now as USF is just toying with the enemies at this point. Like, they're still pulling out like brush cheeses as imaginary champ just tries to go to farm his camps, and he's just not able to do that. It's almost as though if you leave your base, you're just subject to get deleted by anyone on the opposing team.
There are two schools of thought on why they can't really end the game. One of them is because they're choosing not to, specifically for mental damage, which is the style of play I like to think about the most. Is that EG in the LCS?
It's a mental game here.
It is really all mental game, and look no further than a team in the LCS like EG, who opts to, and sometimes in a lot of games, they opt to do a little bit of trolling, as one would say. And they like to go for these sort of extending the game out, emoting, taunting their opponents, but the emotes aren't really coming out as a fight ensues in the top side.
Finally, Q2 Lane is able to get an ultimate onto an opposing enemy team, but the Zonias will save Mid's life. Here comes Imaginary Champ. Will he get the revenge on his enemy jungler? It takes 4 members to take him out, but in the meantime, their base is just absolutely crumbled. Here comes the rest of the squad to back up Astro Hailstorm. Cheeser to get an ult, but is not able to get anyone. Duralumin will send Zeri and Dank Candle back to the fountain. They are able to pick up 2 inhibitors as well as a Nexus turret in exchange for their jungler's life.
And really, the play there is so obvious, and I'm glad that they went for it. USF, they send their strongest member topside, and that puts in the mind of A5s, hey, if we can take out this Mordekaiser, we can have a way to come back in the game. But because Mordekaiser was shut down so recently, you don't really get too much gold from killing him, so you can't really try to funnel that into a Zeri. And also, you're able to, while they throw a bunch of members up there, just take their base in the meantime. Really great macro coming out from USF, making sure that they keep this game as solid and as steady as possible, as they got to keep it steady, especially for something as coin flippy as an Elder can be in the late game.
Elder is spawning in less than a minute now. 2 inhibitors down on the side of Ascendant 5. 1 Nexus turret down. To be completely honest, I actually think Q2 Lane could just walk into the enemy base to take the turret without any minions, and I think he'd be fine. But it looks like they're more opted into the safer bet, which is the Elder Dragon. They are going to be able to get tons of vision and walk. It almost seems like that A5 would just be walking into a trap here. Duralumin goes in on Mint, but just walks out, able to take a couple tower shots.
What I crucially want to point out is that a lot of other teams would say, we have Baron, let's just go for the Elder. Let's just sit on top of the Elder. But USF doing a good job. We see a fight.
Here we go in the bottom lane. The Ornhorn will not be found as he is now put into the death route. Q2 Lane is now just decimated. Astro Hailstorm, and he will go down. Lucas trying to make something happen. Q2 Lane is now slain. Imaginary Champ Prince is the last man standing, but he will not be able to get away. Dank Candle, who was standing on his shoulders, will drop as well. Duralumin trying to take out Mint, as there was a 1v1 at the top lane, but Mint is able to take him out. But the base is just absolutely gone. It looks like this will be the end here. Q2 Lane bring down the hammer, as he will be able to solo carry this game. Looks like there's going to be a fountain dive. Q2 Lane just kind of, a couple of them just walk into the fountain, maybe pad the stats a bit a little bit, but the game will still end. This series is tied.
Predictions be damned. USF tie up this series. They look to carry some momentum into Game 3 here. Really solidly played overall.
That is now, I'm 0-4 on my predictions. That is,
I think I'm 2-2 or 1-3. Not that much better, to be honest. I mean,
it's better than 0-4. You look at that 0% win rate, and that is not good. So, let's analyze that game a little bit. The Mordekaiser, Q2 Lane, the jungler, I will remind you, 29,000, almost 30,000 damage this game, as he finishes with 29,915. The next highest member on his team was actually Cassiopeia Cheese in the mid lane with 17,961. Just out-damaging everyone on his team by 10,000 damage. I think the MVP is a very clear front runner here. Not only that, steals the first dragon by just walking into the pit and smiting it, steals the first Rift Herald by walking into the pit and smiting it, and full objective control for the side of USF. Just unpack that for a second. Like, what went wrong here for Ascendant 5?
I think they didn't stick to the plan. And the plan was we scale. But then the plan in the early game said, hey, let's go take this dragon. And then the plan, the secondary plan was like, hey, we got the kills, we won the fight. Now let's take the dragon. And guess who showed up and sold the dragon? That Mordekaiser right then and there. They were doing really well in the early game, but I think it was just little things they didn't clean up. If they could have maybe cleaned up that fight faster or backed up earlier, and didn't overchase like they sort of did in that fight, or they could have maybe tried to burst down the dragon faster, maybe send more members down there to try to get something to happen. But because of that, they were able to flip it and take the dragon, and this did not happen, but not one, but twice. They took out a ton of members on the top side, the Jaina trying to defend the tower solo afterwards, but because they took so long pushing in that tower and taking the Rift Herald, you just saw USF just show up and beat them again at another objective. And then that was the true nail in the coffin that allowed them to play aggressive in the early game. And to piggyback off that point, you can have an early lead, but against a scaling comp, it can be very hard to maintain it. But I like how USF approached the mid game. What a lot of teams do with these objective controls is that they will go on say, okay, the dragon's the most important thing. We're willing to sacrifice side lanes. We're willing to sacrifice some gold in order to keep this dragon stacking. But USF, you saw in sort of the late game, is that they were not afraid to push out lanes and make sure that they are not losing anything and get the most bang for their buck in terms of the objective at all times, which means they know how to play good League of Legends, even when under a pressure-filled situation when they're down 0-1.
Absolutely. This has been a battle of the junglers, no doubt. Imaginary Champ on the Hecker of last game absolutely carried that game as well as he could. This time, it's Q2 lane with, I believe that is a 76% kill participation, as he was able to clutch 19 of the 25 kills on his squad. My math might be a bit off there. I am not a math major, so whatever. But just an absolute jungle diff swung both ways in this one. I really do feel for Imaginary Champ in this one. Not only was the enemy jungler taking his camps, like he was bullied off by like the enemy top laner, and just it was so hard for him to make any impact in this game. He definitely has my sympathy because I've been there. It has happened to us all. So we are just going to step away for a few moments, as we are just going to take a quick break, let both the teams kind of recuperate and discuss what their drafts are, as we are going to a Game 3 this week, which I'm very excited about. We will be right back with some more League of Legends actions for you all in just a moment.
Welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a bang. Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
But I gotta say, he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's traded back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're not all same solos.
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 3v2 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't cut to it. But Boxer Pro in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before his last dies, and Chicken Fried Rice 200 team with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal him. And they call comes back in the circuit, flip finds one. Can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange applies is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage to Treble back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of CLB that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron, they spiraled away from a teamfight and took the victory.
The higher ranked Clarity Black, and honestly, still
find
performing
Akali
extremely well.
Oh, and she can't get out simply, tries to ulti over the wall, but that's crucial. 4 members sent down. This is the freest Baron I've seen, and it's incredibly hard to siege anything. As we're talking about that, the dragon does in fact spawn.
This will be a very important fight. Dragon Soul on the line. Let's see.
This is so easy, and the onslaught of shadows into all of the members. We talk about Wombo on one side, we talk about Wombo on the other side, but the whole time is not correctly pinned on enough members to make it worth it and to make it so they can make this comeback. And unfortunately, at the end, CLB take the eight, and they look to take the game.
And then as we rolled into game 2, Maokai was picked again.
Welcome to the League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring
Maokai, the Twisted Treant.
Maokai is a support tank hybrid.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Bold move.
Overall,
Normally Darius is only reserved for those counter picks, and it looks like they're just going to respond with Maokai.
And the team was entirely green, so they kind of had the aesthetic advantage for the Big Bongo boys. For the first 22 minutes, I kind of got distracted watching the LCS. 100 Thieves did win, to a big surprise of all the casters. And then we moved back into the game, where Baron and Soulpoint were both hit here by CLB.
Towards this dragon, we do have good death running up from base. Let's see if we can get here in time.
And this dragon is down to 9k HP. They opt to pull it out, so the potential steal is has a lot less potential to happen. The Maokai ulti for the engage. They want to make this happen. The Wombo combo, but the bullet time is just barely out of range, but it's not going to matter in the end. The Deathball comes too strong, but this Twitch is free firing in the backline. Good Death trying to stall time for his 80 carry, but in a 1v4, when you're already routed and they're already on top of you, they make it look easy.
With CLB taking a massive victory in the second game and this series. It seemed like the casters had gone to Hogwarts, because every single time they were casting and made predictions, they just put a caster curse down on poor Big Bongo boys.
The series is taken by Clarity Black.
And that was Risen Unstoppable for the night. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a
Wake
bang.
up!
Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
But I gotta say, he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's trading back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're not all same solos.
Big
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 350 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't cut to it. But Boxer Pro in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last. Dies, and Chicken Fried Rice to his teeth with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal him. And the call comes back in the circuit, flip finds one. Can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage retrieval back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of CLB that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron, they spiraled away from a teamfight and took the victory.
The higher ranked Clarity Black, and honestly, still
find
performing
Akali.
extremely well.
Oh, and she can't get out simply, tries to ulti over the wall, but that's crucial. 4 members sent down. This is the freest Baron I've seen, and it's incredibly hard to siege anything. As we're talking about that, the dragon does in fact spawn.
This will be a very important. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We got Game 3 action coming at you between USF White and Ascendant 5. We are just waiting on both teams to ready up for the draft. So while we wait, Slatty, it is so far blue side 100% win rate. What do you think going in now that Ascendant 5 has swapped back to the blue side should be the game plan here in order for them to close out this series?
I think they picked scaling second game and they saw that it didn't work and they needed a little bit more early aggression. I think what you really need to diagnose is you need probably a better jungler, at least brawler, because that's kind of where the fights turn sour. I think they also need to focus on, if they're going to run a Zeri Yumi bot lane, they need to have more damage than a dragon take, because if they have an Udyr and a Zeri and a Yumi taking the dragon, that's going to be a long time before they can eventually get it down to 900 HP despite it. And that's crucially kind of how USF White were able to win the game, because they were able to get the objective back in time. Not only because the dragon HP is more, but because they shred the dragon so little. So I think their adjustment either needs to be a more damaging in the early game jungler, less of a tank, or their bot lane needs to do more damage, or they don't go for objectives in general. Those are the three options they can really go for, and I think they should try to fix those more so in the draft than in the game plan.
Absolutely. So definitely looking for those kind of for that from Ascendant 5. How about on the side of USF White, who are going back to the red side? I am assuming they're going to be banning out the Hecarim on red side right here. But if not, that is definitely a jungler that you can put Imaginary Champ back on. And what do you think USF White has to accomplish in order for them to pull out this game? Because they have not yet, no one has yet won on the red side.
Yeah, it's very tall task to overcome, and a 100% win rate to 0% win rate. It's kind of a tall mountain to climb. But I think overall, and letting the Hecarim Oakum, like you see, is
Wow,
definitely not one way to do it. They respond with potentially a Mordekaiser hovering the Soraka. I do really like a Soraka pick into something like a Hecarim, but they opt to go for the Mordekaiser instead.
So putting both of the jugglers on the champions they carried their individual games on. Absolutely a very intriguing choice. This is going to be an exciting game. Imaginary Champ on the Hecarim was deadly, but I think Q-Chulane on the Mordekaiser was arguably more deadly. So this will definitely be interesting. But the Soraka picked up, and in exchange, going into a Soraka lane, we have Renata Glask and Aphelios. So I have not seen a lot of Aphelios, especially outside of pro play. So definitely an intriguing pickup here for the side of Ascendant 5. And we'll see. They have 5 seconds left. What USF White want to respond with, and it is Swain.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a very, very different drafts than what we have seen from the first two games. What are you thinking is the from these first three picks on each side? Like, what is each team going for here?
Anti-dive is the name of the game for Ascendant 5. They have Aphelios, they have Renata. This is one of the most infamous anti-dive lanes. But, you know, for lack of a better term, they kind of blew their load a little bit too much in this draft phase. A little too early because they revealed an anti-dive bot lane, but only a Mordekaiser and Soraka was really hovered. So while it discourages the dive picks, you can't really get a great counter pick like you were hoping for. I think the Mordekaiser is a great idea because it worked so well last game. However, even though they did opt to go Mordekaiser in the jungle last time, that doesn't remove the idea that could potentially be a flex pick. I do like the Soraka overall. I think Soraka is a really good champion, very easy to execute. And the antithesis of easy to execute is Aphelios. That champion is very hard to play. I've tried to play him 40 billion times to no avail.
Aphelios, guns. That's his champion. So
Yep. He has guns. I like to classify his guns. Let me see. I have like names for them. So you have Rudy, which is the grav gun. You have Snipey, which is it's the shooter. You have Steely, which is the scythe blades. Bernie, and then what's the last one that I'm forgetting? Spinny. Oh wait. Is it? Oh, and Spinny. Yes, those are the five. I feel like right, Gibbs. I feel like you should name it to those because that would be easier to remember than
Gravitum, yeah,
Gravitum.
all that stuff. If we go by one of my favorite YouTubers, Scooch, his name for the guns was Snipey, Healy, Aoe, Rudy, I think was the other one, and then
Rudy.
Sickle Mode. Those were his five.
Sickle mode.
Those are his 5 versions of the guns. So.
Definitely a variation, but the Tristana locked in. So here's the thing. Because of our proficiency in caster cursing, okay, I think their Tristana pick is absolutely horrible. It is going to go 0-10. Okay, there, so I can watch
Oh, there we go.
Pop
You just confirmed that Tristana is going to, like, sweep this game.
Sweep this game, yeah. I want to see it happen. I have Tristana mate. I love Tristana, but the Aurelia locked in. A very interesting decision.
Very interesting decision, as we don't see a lot of AP damage on the side of Ascendant 5. You do have the Renata, you do have the Sejuani, but is that really enough to make an impact onto the enemy team? So definitely interesting. It seems as though they are throwing the Aurelia in the mid lane.
It's very weird. Their comp in general. I think the first three were not too horrible from Ascendant 5, but I think their last two are pretty problematic, especially with an Olaf locked in to get through the CC. But to finish my thought here, Aurelia is self-counterpicking to hell and back. Mordekaiser can death row, make it a 1v1, and Aurelia is very hard to win those. Swain, if you stay on top of Swain, he is never going to die because his ult doesn't doesn't run out until you leave that area. Soraka, with the silence, makes so Aurelia can't really dash. Tristana has access to the ulti and the rocket jump, can get out of pretty much any situation Aurelia puts it in. So she's going to have a very hard time diving onto this team comp, even with the help of something like a Hecarim and maybe a Sejuani. They can look to burst, but Aurelia definitely not having that 1v9 carry potential you like to see out of this champion.
Absolutely, and there is still the possibility of the Swain perhaps going ADC and throwing the Tristana mid. There is that option because I remember there was a combo of the Swain Soraka in the bot lane. Is just Swain will never die, but I think you are right. I believe it is the Tristana that is going into the bot lane with the Soraka, but paired up with a non-aggressive support, that is definitely an interesting selection for Tristana. And I mean, I have to assume Olaf going top lane and given Mordekaiser back over to Q lane. He has the hardest name in this game. Like, dang it.
Yeah, Q lane. I'll try to remember it as best I can. But the top lane matchup is Olaf versus Sejuani. Level 6 Olaf probably wins that because he could just ulti through Sejuani ult. He can run her down pretty effectively with something like the Ghost, probably forcing out the flash and still being able to kill. But you're pointing out with the Soraka pick how it's not really great. Not to say you didn't say you said it was a bad pairing. It's just an unconventional pairing. You usually like to see more aggressive.
I mean, you were the one who said Tristana was a bad pick here, so
I said okay. That was a fun. That was not meant. To, okay, I don't want to mess with the caster curse gods here right now.
Yeah. Okay. So in order to counter the caster curses, both times we predicted the same team. So
okay.
I want to get from you, who is your go-to to win this next game?
Okay, I'm gonna say,
bro. And that includes like so our past games and this current draft. Who do you think will come out on top?
I think both comps are not great, and I'll go into that. I'll go into that a little bit later. I'll go into that a little bit, but if I had to take either one, it would probably not. I would say comp-wise, I would give it to USF White, but I think Ascendant 5 are gonna pull it out. I think Game 2 was a funny game. I think there was just some problems with the mid-game. They made some mistakes that snowballed into USF White being able to take over with a Mordekaiser. But the Soraka pick with Tristana is very interesting. But you do see Enchantress with Tristana being pretty effective. She does scale actually pretty well. But you just more so like the early game aggression. The one problem with playing Enchanter with a Tristana is that she has sort of a harder time playing in hitting and finding her identity of the comp. Does she want to jump in, jump out? Because with something like a Jinx, with something like a Zeri, you can immediately get back in the fight. If you get the reset, you can walk back, walk forward. If Tristana can miss the rocket jump, she can't really walk up. She doesn't have any more mobility or movement speed access to her. So she really cannot be touched in these team fights or have insane peel. So it's a lot harder to run compared to your traditional late game scaler, but I think it's still something they can effectively run if they choose their fights right.
All right. So in summary, you think the draft on the side of USF White is better, but you think A5 will take the game.
Bro, saying better is like even it's the lesser of two evils. It's the lesser of two evils, dog.
Okay,
that's how I feel right now.
But your end prediction is A5. Am I right?
Yes, my end prediction is A5.
Because I will not let us go 0 for 6 on our predictions today. One of us is getting the prediction right. I'm going to take USF White. I'm going to say they're going to come out with this game. If I'm wrong, I have not in the first 2 weeks of games predicted a single game correctly. So that'll be a bit tough to swallow. But in the meantime, in my personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of USF's draft just because I don't know what it wants to accomplish. They have a bit of everything. They have anti-dive with Swain, Mordekaiser, Olaf, and then they have dive with Tristana, and it kind of doesn't seem to really mesh together. obviously going for multiple different routes, like a pig comp or a team fighting comp, like all in one, is always a good idea. You never want to put all of your eggs in one basket, like what happened in game 1 where it didn't really work out. So definitely a bit more options here for the side of USF, but I don't think it really meshes well together. So I'm not a big fan of them, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of A5 as well, because I hate seeing a lack of magic damage. Sure, Sejuani does magic damage. Yes, Renata does too. But you have a Swain and a Mordekaiser and an Olaf on the other team. They're going to have way more than enough like tanky stats in MR, like just themselves to withstand the damage coming from those two champions. So they could just stack armor, and if it'll feel like Aphelios and Aurelia and Hecarim, the actual damage dealers, just won't be able to do as much. So definitely not a fan of either draft. Like, I don't think they're bad. I think Hecarim, if he pops off, will still be able to take over the game. But Mordekaiser, as we've seen, will become an unkillable god king. So like, definitely this is a curious game 3 draft. It is spicy as all hell. I'm excited. Do you have any closing comments before we go to a break?
I would probably like to say that this is going to be an exciting series, no matter what the conclusion is, whether which team wins. But before, I just want to put a little poke into the Ascendant 5 draft. I think Ascendant 5 all around the board. Hecarim, Tristana with the Rocket Jump, Olaf with ulti, Swain W, Swain ulti. It's hard for you to dive him, so they have a response for Hecarim. For Renata, they have the Olaf to dive her and make it so she can't really play the game. Tristana, they have easy access. They're not really an autofocus team too much, at least range autofocus. I mean, Tristana does some damage, but it's not the biggest end of the world. Aphelios. I mean, Aphelios is kind of the one exception, but like Olaf kind of kills him. Aurelia, like I said at the start, she doesn't really have a good, easy target to access on. Same with Sejuani, she can't really get too much done, at least in my opinion. So I think USF White has a response to every single member of the Ascendant 5 draft, but I think Ascendant 5 kind of have, I guess, a more coherent comp. It feels like they're just team fight oriented, and that's it. Not that they are on the same page in the team fight, but that's all I wanted to say.
Fair enough. One way or another, we will have the answer in about half an hour or so, or maybe longer, but we are going to go to a quick break as we wait for the spectator delay to finish. We will be right back with some more League of Legends actions as soon as we can. Game 3 coming up.
Welcome back to the Risen recap. Today we're looking towards Risen Unstoppable, and the stream started off with a
Wake
bang.
up!
Quicksand asleep.
It's the first game of Unstoppable Risen Premade. Come on, get up.
But
Come on,
I
come
gotta
on.
say, he was smooth once he rolled into it. And our first series was Big Bongo Boys playing up against Clarity Black. For the first 20 minutes of the game, it was a bit of fighting in the top lane, but not much happened besides that.
Oh, but the engage coming out from Sejuani, but it's trading back, and Maokai actually regenerated a lot more health than I would expected there.
For Boxer Squirrel, just really those kind of impacts making a huge difference in the gold.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I want to call them Triple B, BBB, or Big Bongo Boys, because they're not all same solos.
Then there was a mega turnaround fight for the Big Bongo Boys after they made a big dragon attempt, but then they got challenged again for the dragon attempt, which Big Bongo Boys won the fight towards.
On this side, and there's a 3 on the other side, but I can't punch to it, and I can't punch to it. But Boxer Pro in the midst of it all, unable to get too much out, but finds the Q before he's last. Dies, and Chicken Fried Rice to escape with good depth does not unfortunately have the W enough up to heal up, and the call comes back in the circuit, flip finds one, can she find two? No, she gets shut down, and the exchange of lives is so insane. Can Maokai find the damage retrieval back? And he does, but unfortunately, it is the ace on the side of CLB that allows them to get this dragon.
Much later in the game, Big Bongo Boys chased Akali down in the bot lane, meaning that Clarity Black had so much freedom to take that first Baron, and from that Baron, they spiraled away from a teamfight and took the victory.
The higher ranked Clarity Black, and honestly, still
find
performing
Akali.
extremely well.
Oh, and she can't get out, simply tries to ulti over the wall, but that's crucial. 4 members sent down. This is the freest Baron I've seen, and it's incredibly hard to siege anything. As we're talking about that, the dragon does in fact spawn.
This will be a very important fight. Dragon Soul on the line. Let's see.
This is so easy, and the onslaught of shadows into all of the members. We talk about Wombo on one side, we talk about Wombo on the other side, but the whole time is not correctly pinned on enough members to make it worth it and to make it so they can make this comeback. And unfortunately,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We got a series deciding game coming right up. Ascendant 5 against USF White on red side. I'm excited. We have no level 1 shenanigans like we had in game 1. We have Lucas going a bit crazy on the Tristana, but we also have a lot of respected chat with the good luck, have fun. I am excited for when we get the first action here.
Spamming the emote, as you can see with the voice line. Handle gunners, what you see, surge of smoke, and victory. This Tristana looking to pop off in this game potentially. Lucas played in the first game to pretty good success. He was 2-1-4 in the lane, but unfortunately not able to clean it up in terms of the mid game. We'll see how he plays now, but Prince on the Aphelios. Okay, let me be honest here. You know, my eyebrow is one of my eyebrows are very much so raised at this Aphelios pick because he is a very difficult champion to execute, no matter how good you are at the game, except if you're like Masters Challenger, maybe even like High Diamonds. But like
he has guns and he shoots the guns.
He's so simple, I know.
Yeah, that's like the simplest champion I've ever heard of. It's not like he has like his own HUD and 16 different abilities.
Yeah, it's not like that is just what is happening in these games, but overall, A5's draft a little more coherent. I talked about it in the draft phase, but I think the silent hero of the second game, at least for me, was Cheese. He had the prio like the entire game, so he was able to really allow his team to get a lot, win these kind of top side and bot side fights because of his lane prio and being able to rotate first to them. So now being on Swain versus Aurelia, he should continue to have push here, and further have that silent impact he had in game 2.
Oh, there's a level 2 from Mint, gets a decent trade-off, but she's able to proc that electrocute. Trades a bit of damage back, so all in all, not the worst for Cheese, but avoiding the level 2 all-in from Mint, impressive.
And interesting point about this mid lane matchup is the difference in summoners. Ignite versus Ghost. It's an interesting decision from at least, I think, Cheese. The Ghost on Swain allows you to kite people out better and also chase them down better. Swain's biggest weakness is getting out of that ulti range, and if he can prevent people from getting out with something like a chase down with a Ghost, he can be really, really scary in the team fights, but that leaves him vulnerable to these fights. Aurelia with the Ignite is about 180 true damage of extra damage, which swings fights completely in your favor.
We have Imaginary Champ up here at the top lane. Duraluba does not have any flash. He pops the Ghost, but will it be enough to get away? The stun comes in from Astral Hailstorm, and he is able to live a little bit longer, but Imaginary Champ will be able to pick up the first blood on Hecarim. Well played there from both the top and jungler of Ascendant 5.
Yeah, overall doing a really good job. It's Ascendant 5 who win in these short-term fights, as we've said, but we'll have to, not the short-term fights. It's Ascendant 5 who win in terms of these team fights in the early game. They are the better team fighters, but can they be the better objective controllers? The answer was no last game. I'm not sure if they're going to make it happen this game. The Dragon spawning in 1 in the 17, but we got a topside fight.
Oh, that's not good for Imaginary Champ as the Gromp is picked up for Kuchu Lane, and he's able to just freely pick up some extra health and has an item, or not item, I apologize, a level advantage over Imaginary Champ, just like last game. It looks like he's going to try and steal the blue as well.
But Imaginary Champion's in enemy territory. Oh, not an enemy territory.
No, he's in his own territory. That's the funny part. Imaginary Champ is trying to make a getaway, but he will not do it. But Kuchu Lane is relatively low. The flash in from Mint is able to pop the shield as well. It looks like Astral Hailstorm will be going down, but Mint is able to at least trade one back for the side of Ascendant 5. So in the jungle fight, a 2-for-1 overall lead there for USF White.
And sprawling. There's so many fights, just like in game 1, reminiscent of that. And we gotta wonder where the next fight is gonna happen. Is it gonna happen on this dragon? These dragons have been taken around the 7-minute mark, so it doesn't seem like it. But you can only
already we have Kuchu Lane with double the CS of Imaginary Champ, so that is very rough for this Hecarim. We'll see if he'll be able to make the recovery here, but with a pushed up lane and bot lane, it looks like Imaginary Champ is going to look for something here.
Yeah, they do have the control ward, so it is not spotted out by Lucas. And Prince does outside of the root gun, so if he can land it, he can crucially, but the fight is starting now.
All right, here comes Imaginary Champ. There is the root onto La Cha-Cha. Lucas dives in, But the flash away from Prince keeps him alive. LeChacha is making his escape. He is being chased down by Imaginary Champ. Will he be able to get the kill? The heel flash keeps LeChacha alive. Lucas, does he have the W to make it over?
It's on
He's
probably
being
like
chased
6
down by
seconds.
Imaginary Champ. He's just running away.
He'll have it back up, though.
Being healed up by LeChacha. Still does have to use the flash.
Oh, damn!
The flash code puts Imaginary Champ into a bad place. But he will be able to just walk out. Or will he? Here comes Q2 Lane. Does get the drag. But it looks like with the Renata that Hecarim will be able to just walk away. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Duralumin is fighting Astro Hailstorm. He does have a level advantage, but no minions on his side, meaning the trade will go actually in favor of Astro Hailstorm. Did pull out the Sejuani in the first game, and we were impressed despite that he had no items. So definitely putting forth a good effort here.
And a non-stop continuous fight being passed around by the different members of Summoner's Rift. But what I really want to crucially point out here,
oh no, Astro Hailstorm has to make a getaway. Oh no, at that point you should just take the hit from the W, but unfortunately opts to try and dodge it and still escape with his life. Unfortunately, he will not do so, and it is a kill going over to USF White.
And yeah, honestly, tanking it at that point is the right play. You're still dead either way, but there's a little bit more of a chance that the Swain just fully scuffs his E and doesn't hit it onto you. But walking back into it confirms your death. But what I want to point about that bot side fight is that Tristana has this unique ability to just jump on an AD carry. Really try to burst people, and she does have access to an X Factor like that. And, you know, I like the idea behind the play. Hey, the jungler's ganking. I want to trade one back. If he's going for my support and my support's running to my tower, I can dive on the enemy AD carry and potentially win the 1v2 or even trade a kill and then leave, right? However, because of the summoner spell known as Exhaust, which is a really good summoner, by the way, that you want to take as an AD carry, that calculation was thrown to the dirt. He was not able to really find enough damage with the explosive. And so he couldn't get the reset on the W and was forced to use Flash to try to escape the situation. But even though it was a scuff fight overall, stalling out the jungler's time is really valuable.
Here we go in mid lane. Mint pulls out the all-in onto Cheese and just deletes him from Summoner's Rift. The CS difference in the mid lane is quite shocking if you look into a ranged versus a melee matchup, as Mint is just smurfing on Cheese in this one.
Yeah, Mint doing a really good job on this rally. This is definitely, you could tell, it's a character. This guy definitely plays a lot. Maybe relying on it a little too much, but we see Duralumin
in top lane here. Duralumin is now CC abu, but it looks like Astro Hailstorm is going to be able to make his escape. The stun there! Hailstorm actually gets the solo kill in top lane, and Q2 lane cannot get a kill in the Death Realm. Everything is going wrong right now for the side of USF White. Will they be able to turn the fight though? Q2 lane will die as Prince will pick up the kill. That is now 3 kills in the span of just a few minutes going over to the side of Ascendant 5, and unfortunately, Q2 lane is not alive to steal the dragon this time around.
What an exciting game 3. We see a lot of action, but Astro Hailstorm, great ulti. Last second on the top side to secure his life and keep him in this top side, you know, trade, CS, whatever. Keep himself alive in this matchup. The word I was looking for there. But in the bot side, the Mordekaiser was able to get out of the Death Realm and like get some damage in the Death Realm, and gets chased down by 3 members and wasn't able to run out. This man,
That is unfortunately the downside of playing Mordekaiser jungle. You really rely on those stolen stats once you come out of the Death Realm in the team fight. So if you're not able to get that kill, all of a sudden you're just immobile beefy boy in front of the entire enemy team. So afterward, he just doesn't have any extra stats to rely on, so it just gets deleted. So that is unfortunate there for Q2 lane.
And despite the 20 CS lead in the mid lane, the response from Duralumin is to have a 20 CS lead over his lane opponent. This Sejuani 33 CS at 9 minutes. That is the anti-Doin B 100 CS at 9 minutes rise or whatever. And it's kind of the
anti-Doin B.
The anti-Doin B hack. But, oh, Swain potentially looking for an angle here, wants to clear out the Scuttle. And we haven't talked too much about the Scuttle Crabs in terms of this early game. Mainly because stuff, but like really, Scuttle Crabs are the start of it all. They are the you know, they're the fire that sets a fight, the firework of the team fight. I guess is the best way you can describe it. They're kind of the reason to fight over everything in the early game. And so being able to obtain those early is very crucial in getting a lead in jungle, and is potentially where Tulane's lead has become over Imaginary Champions.
Alright, so it looks like the Rift Herald will be picked up by Q Lane. He doesn't steal it this time. He does take the entire objective for himself. So that's a first for Q Lane, but unfortunately not much action in the past few minutes ever since that dragon fight. Just both teams just trying to trade back and forth. Definitely some CS canyons for both teams. For top lane, it's Duralubin. That is to be expected. Olaf will just bully out a Sejuani in the early game. That's not why you pick Sejuani. You pick her for the pick potential and the team fight aspect later on. That is fine. However, she's still down 30 CS to Mint. That is actually a bit unexpected, as you see the melee matchup into range just shouldn't be like that. But Duralumin still has this wave frozen, and now he is fighting against Astro Hailstorm, but not much will come out of that.
I'd like to pinpoint one point you said about the wave control from Duralumin. That is a really great way to obtain a nice CS lead for yourself, and especially freezing against someone who you know who can't do you. Keeping the wave in this spot, even though it's not going to be frozen for too much longer, depending on how Astro Hailstorm wants to manipulate this wave, still wanting to push it in. At that point, with the minions even like that, you should just let it push back, and then the wave will eventually push to your own tower, and you can get a lot of form. But he's trying to push it in.
Wave control as a top laner is the most important skill to learn. Part of the reason why I quit top lane is I sucked at it. So, oh, there's the stun, but so definitely a good trade coming out here from Astro Hailstorm, actually. All of a sudden, the bully becomes the bullied as he is pushed under tower.
Yeah, and we talked about the lead on the top side, but leads are only good if you can go back to the base and spend it. They both have tier 2 boots. They both have around the same gold. 2 ruby crystals, 800 plus a crit cloak, not crit cloak, plus a armor cloak is in total 1,100 gold, about the same as a Hearthbound axe. The items are bought, but before the Kindle gem was bought, it was only Hearthbound axe, so they're actually pretty even on items despite the lead.
Plus, now 2 extra plates picked up for Astro Hailstorm. So, honestly, if you look at the gold value of both of them, they're dead even, actually. So this CS lead is almost null and void for Duralumin. All that work for nothing.
The dragon spawning in 45 seconds. The dragon fight's crucial deciders in the last game on who's going to win. But this time, let's see if they are really going to be the difference maker in this game.
All right, Imaginary Champ might get caught out here, as there is the hammer flash forward from Cheese to get the root, but unstoppable Imaginary Champ will be able to make his escape, and now Tulane is fighting against Mint in the Death Realm, but Mint actually might be the stronger one here. Oh my goodness, you are trapped in I am not trapped in a room with you, you're trapped in a room with me. Mint turns the Death Realm around and Tulane goes down.
But it's going to be enough. The health bars are so low for both Mint and Imaginary Champ, who are the 2 main members that can make stuff happen. So they're not actually, despite being able to kill the jungler, actually able to do anything on the dragon. But a fight might occur in a little bit.
Yeah, he may not have a lot of health now, but one of the great things about Aurelia is all you need is about maybe like 1 wave or so, and then you're back up to full. So definitely going to be farming that right now. The Rift Herald is summoned up in the top lane, actually, but post 14 minutes, not going to get as much value from that Herald as one would expect. So definitely a bit of a hit there for USF White, but still going to hopefully be able to get that charge off, as Duralumin is in the top lane, able to take out that wave.
Wave control, wave control, wave control. Obtaining the Prow on the bot side is what makes this play possible. But it does look like Red Team could potentially try to make an fight afterwards, but that becomes quickly an afterthought as the dragon is finally taken. But the Rift Herald is spawned in the top side, and the fight now is occurring.
Yes, Duralumin throws the axe. Astro Hailstorm is slow, but it looks like there will be a charge, as he's not going to be able to kill this in time. And in fact, he's not going to be able to kill it at all, as Duralumin grabs the solo kill in top lane, and Mint trying to make an escape. Will he be able to? Yes, he barely walks out with his life. Imaginary Champ now 3 levels down, but is the health advantage enough to turn this fight around? Duralumin is an Olaf. He fights better when he's dying, and he will take out another solo kill for Duralumin in the top lane.
He shut me up in the first game. I talked about how he should not be the win con because his performance on the Rengar was a little subpar, but in this game he's showing up big. A great spread out 1v2, but still a 1v2 nevertheless. He was so low HP, and as you point out, Olaf crucially gets so much healing from being such low health, and his damage is just crazy. Even without the ulti, did he have the Trinity Force? I'm not sure entirely if he had the Trinity Force.
No, I believe he just bought that and TP'd back. His TP is down.
Yeah, that's even more impressive. This Olaf, very much so a stat stick champion, but you do need to pick up and land the axe, so he played that very well here. And now you got to start questioning, do we want to play around this Tristana in this mid laner, or do we want to focus all of our resources up into our Olaf, who does have the ability to really dive an Aphelios, dive the Renata, and really deal a lot of damage to the Aurelia.
What is scary about a fed Olaf is you cannot stop a fed Olaf. The ultimate will come through, and whoever is in his way will go down, and there's nothing you can do about it. So definitely a scary prospect here for the side of Ascendant 5 if they let him get any further ahead. But there's the stopwatch from Cheese, and now Mint has to run away, but the root will get him. He is pulled back in, and Q2 lane traps him in the Death Realm. And this is where Mordekaiser is his strongest. Mint tries to do something, but he will just go down. And now it's Imaginary Champ who is on the wrong side of this fight. He will be able to run away, but it looks like Soraka is walking into the river. Never mind. They will just back off and let the Hecarim escape.
Bloody battle. But everyone's bleeding all around the map, but
it's like an even bleed, like overall.
Yeah, it's like an even bleed overall. Like all of them are like equally bloodletting. It's kind of insane. So only a 500 gold lead from USF, but 500 gold leads don't really matter in these games.
Yeah, and it was even up until that first turret that had been taken, so still relatively even. The ult used from Duralumin won't actually get anything, but here comes the rest of his boys to back him up. A good sidestep there from Astro Hailstorm will save his life, as the roam up from Cheese and Q lane actually won't do anything. But here comes a dive onto a lone Soraka. That's not where you want to be. LaChacha is rooted, stunned, uses the ult, but the Prince will take his prize.
Absolutely. They really well played that, I think, over on the side of blue team, but it really crucially starts with the fact that Astro Hailstorm dodges out of that Swain E. As you talked about it on the play-by-play.
My goodness!
Oh, but Lucas just finishing off this Hecarim, making it a 1-for-1 in the situation, flies a little bit too close to the song and gets blown up by it.
Yes, opting instead to focus on the turret instead of the champion. But here we go, we have another mid lane fight as Cheese pops the ultimate, but Mint just blast cones away, not willing to face the enemy mid laner in his own jungle.
Yeah, as you see, it's just a really great game. Very even, as we pointed out, even more even from those previous plays. But I like the response play. Both teams really respecting the map in its entirety. When you see a play topside, you go bot side and make the response play. But crucially, also, Tristana was in base. She had the exhaust, she had the flash, she had the abilities to probably make a 2v3 dive not as favorable for Ascendant 5. But she's not there, and she's recovering some base. She's walking back there, and so they see their opportunity, and they strike on the Soraka.
Absolutely, and now with this dragon spawning in 30 seconds, Cheese having to use the flash to escape the wrath of Mint. So that is definitely a crucial summoner on one of your main carries down for this dragon fight.
Yeah, you don't have the flash onto the Swain, you don't have the flash onto LaChacha, who is really sort of the main carry. He keeps the carries alive, and that's really what you need, especially into something like a Hecarim.
Soraka diff is real, that is correct.
She does do a lot in these situations, but can she get them out of a sticky one as she's getting dove?
Imaginary Champ dives in, does not use the ultimate quite yet, as LaChacha is going down, but not quite dead yet. Imaginary Champ is able to pick up that first kill, but Mint is trapped in the Death Realm. Will he be able to make an escape as he is fighting? He is chucking Q2 lane quite low, but he will fall, but Q2 lane will fall in return. Imaginary Champ It does get the Renata reset, but will he be able to get a kill out of it? No, he will not. The rest of USF White is making an escape. Both junglers are down, so this objective might not be taken just yet, and it's a 2-for-2 fight overall.
But it's a 3v3 fight that both teams look want to take. Duralumin in squad wants to go for this play. They're running them down. He does not have access to the ulti, but has access to a lot of damage.
Yes, that is one of the benefits of it, Olaf. He does have a heck of a lot of damage. So this third dragon actually looks like it is more in favor of USF White, as they have the vision control on it right now. That one ward in the brush is not being picked up by the pink ward, so Ascendant 5 know this is happening, but will they be able to do anything about it? Unfortunately, it's a 4v3 for now, as the rest of their members are coming up, but it looks like this dragon will just be bursted down, so it will be the third dragon likely going over to the side of USF White, as here comes QQ Lane just to secure it, and the gold does remain almost dead even for both these teams.
I think, honestly, if I'm on Ascendant 5, if you basically were keeping better track of cooldowns, you would notice Astralis popped crucially to get a Fellas out there. That was really smart play to ensure that Fellas couldn't get a run down and a play not possible. But if you notice in terms of summoners, it is A5 with complete advantage, and when the gold is so even, I think honestly you want to take that fight even if they've already taken the dragon, because if you can win that fight solidly, you have access to a Baron play to make a gold lead possible for you. So them opting to go out of it is maybe a little bit of sign of nerves or just not knowing what the correct play is in that time.
Yeah, especially on a screen to this many people, you don't want to make those kind of mistakes. So perhaps a bit of caution on the side of Ascended 5, but the dragon does go over, so unfortunately no soul point for Ascended 5. They will have to wait at least 4 more minutes before they have another shot at it. Duralumin hiding in the bush right now. Oh no, Astro Hailstorm used his mobility. Will he be able to make this escape as Duralumin picks up the axe? Here comes Dank Candle. Actually, the rest of the boys are here to try and protect their Sejuani. Root coming in. Duralumin is now CC immune, trying to make his escape, but he has bitten off just a bit more than he could chew, as Imaginary Champ will pick up that kill.
Yep. The exhaust kind of sealing his fate there. Crucial summoner. That, like, you know, I would say that it's awesome they got to kill, but I think the exhaust is actually less worth. It is pretty not worth there at all. I would rather trade a kill and give him a kill than use the exhaust there, because that exhaust is your main line of defense against something like an Olaf, because he is CC immune to everything else, but he's not immune to getting the damage reduction from the exhaust, which is why you want that summoner so crucially.
Absolutely. So I don't think they'll have it for the next dragon fight, so we will have to see how they deal with the Olaf in that scenario. However, with the mid turret down, there comes the perfect ultimate from Astro Hailstorm, and Mid will dive in and take what is his. However, now they have to run away as the root comes in. Mint forced to flash a good Renata ultimate. Berserk gotcha. That is a weird interaction to see, as looks like now Astro Hailstorm is in a world of trouble. So all in all, it is a 1-for-1, but we will see if there's any more action from this chaotic little fight there.
A5 up to a silent 2,000 gold lead, but neither team can really do anything about this Baron. The Baron is traded back, as it always does with these objectives. We talk about dragon dances in this game. There's, of course, the vision dance, the back and forth. It's a waltz, a tango even, as one would describe it. You are in tandem with your partner, and it looks like
Lane, you might not be in the right spot here. Mint is dragged into the death row, but I actually favor Aurelia in this scenario, and he comes out on top, but unfortunately the Renata will not keep her alive. She's flashing over the wall. Prince will flash after and take what is his. That is a 2-for-1, including the jungler, and it looks like Ascendant 5 is actually going to start up this Baron.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely not conventional for... Actually, wait, it's very conventional when the jungler is down. I forget that Mordekaiser is their jungler. I apologize.
Mordekaiser is their jungler, not Olaf, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not how I am used to seeing it, but Prince, red and white, can take this objective super fast before the Mordekaiser even respond. It is not going to be the same case like the second game, where the Mordekaiser gets back alive before the objective spawns, and then he kills it with the smite.
Unfortunately, we're not at that part of the game anymore, so Lucas is able to pick up quite a few camps, actually. As you can see, the entire bot side of Imaginary Champ is up. So a little bit of trade back here, but definitely the Baron is worth. But Prince, oh no, don't take that blast cone. Okay, no, I didn't realize Astral Hailstorm was there. I thought it was just the 2 on the enemy team, but Astral Hailstorm now finds himself in a world of trouble. Does get the ultimate onto Lucas, but will he be able to walk away with his life? Does have the bomb on his head, but that shouldn't be enough to kill him, as it looks like everyone will walk out unscathed.
Unfortunately, doesn't have Collector, so that maybe one more tick and a Collector could have killed it there, but definitely not with the Kraken PD build, which is so effective on this Tristana. You really get so much damage, burst, and consistent with the build that she goes for, so I really like the idea.
A bit of a misclick there from Cheese as he just accidentally hits his stopwatch, so that's a very critical cooldown, not going to be at this fight. As here come the boys ready to start some trouble as this dragon is spawning in 10 seconds. Cheese misses the root. They do have vision on that brush, so they know that the Soraka and the Mordekaiser are there. It's just a matter of what are they going to do about it. Dan Candle is kind of in a bad spot. The rest of his team is over the wall, so he is forced to flash. That is just a bit rough as he went in to clear the vision with none of his team there to support him.
And vision control is so crucial. It looks like Cheese and True Lane might come from the backside, especially this Mordekaiser, but just kind of dancing here permanently. The dragon spawning. The dragon already spawned, and they want to look to take it. Both teams don't want to give an inch because they know the enemy team will take a mound.
They get the root onto Astral Hailstorm, who will get chunked out, but it doesn't look like anything more will come of that fight. What looked like the start of the fight actually just turned out to be more of an intro of an Astral Hailstorm.
But the root
chunked to half health. Here we go. Prince is brought in. Mint will dive into the enemy team. Prince is in the death realm with... Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. Mint is in the death realm. He is chunked unbelievably low. But he will be able to make his escape. Imaginary Champ is the next one. Will he be able to make this escape? No.
Just resetting.
3 for 0. Tristana dives in, and Lucas with a triple
He's gonna keep going!
Will not be able to get anything more. He will just get the triple and die, but that is a 5 for 1 in favor of USF White. The Baron is gone. Dragon goes over to the red side.
The OG resetting queen herself, Tristana, rocket jumping, Goomba stomping all over the enemy team, playing really well in the fight, biding their time, and then going for the right play. Yeah, Viego who, 100%. But, you know, Swain in the early, you know, did waste this opportunity to use the stopwatch, but they did not waste the opportunity to take the dragon to the objective. And they tie up the objectives here. And it is within 400 gold. I feel like it's been even for the past, I don't know, 15 minutes straight. Which I think is lovely.
This has been a very even game, and they are always the most entertaining to watch. A bloody, close game. Those are my favorite. We'll see where it goes from here. It is now a bit more in the favor of USF White as they are now back on the map and farming it again. So they have about a 700 gold lead. But at this point of the game, that is virtually even. So definitely this is going to be a very interesting direction this game is going in.
And a perfect time for the Baron to spawn in about 2 minutes. 15 seconds. Gonna spawn around that 30-minute mark, and that is really gonna be crucial in deciding who can potentially win this game, because both teams have traded objectives so evenly. The Elder's not gonna spawn for at least another 10 minutes, and I don't expect it to go that long. So this Baron and this main objective provides you with stats. It provides you with extra damage. I'm not exactly sure which stats because I'm a dumb 80 carry player who doesn't research stuff, but I know it makes you do more. Okay.
It does make you get more. That is correct. Also, I have to bring attention to the fact that two Ocean Drakes on the side of
we know what you mean.
USF White. That is not good when you're playing into an Olaf. Already so much healing on that champ. Imaginary Champion, kind of going the wrong way, but is a speedy boy and will be able to make his escape. As he flashes the mastery, as he hit E and ran in the opposite direction.
Oh, but
we have a bit more of a fight here as Astral Hailstorm dives in. LaChacha is the target for Imaginary Champ, and he is just absolutely destroyed by Prince. Cheese is now trying to make his presence known with the ultimate. Dan Candle dies as well, and Astral Hailstorm dies off the screen. Lucas might fall, but he will not. Picks up the double kill to 5 for 2 in favor of USF White.
And they're looking to push into this mid lane. Probably the play they're going to go for is push in, potentially grab this inhibitor because the death timers are so long, or at least take a tower and then walk towards the Baron.
Will they be able to end this game, actually? Actually, I don't believe so. They don't have big enough minion wave, and they are coming up in 20 seconds. I jumped the gun a bit there.
No, you jumped the gun. You're too excited. I can't blame you for that one. I'm definitely excited for this game, but they're able to take an inhibitor, and we're going to probably see pinks come out on the Baron. They want this objective, and because of the way it's pushed in, it's going to be hard for A5 to immediately respond, but the pinks come out, but why is just... Oh, well, okay, it looks like they want the game to be even longer than it needs to be.
Yep. I'm not opting to go for that Baron quite yet, with the enemies respawning in time, not willing to take that 50-50 play. They are sitting comfortably with a 3k gold lead right now, and that just might be enough for them to not opt in for this fight quite yet.
I'm griefing. The Baron did spawn. Okay, my bad. Oh wait, the Baron did spawn, right? Am I?
It just spawned. Yes.
It just spawned. Yes, I griefed the timer. I said it was at 30 minutes. Anyways, yeah, I'm definitely the best analyst you've ever seen in your life. No question. Yes.
Don't worry. You're quite all right, my friend.
we got it. We got it now though. I'm all synced up with the correct Baron clock. It is spawned, and both teams looking to put pressure on it as they usually do.
Yep, and with the dragon spawning in 1 minute as well, it will be curious to see if there's like more of a trade Baron for dragon, or if one team is able to get a good team fight off and claim both. We will see how it plays out in the next minute or so, as both teams are now getting ready. I was gonna say rearing up, but that's not the right word. Getting ready for this next fight coming up.
Yep. Okay. It's a close game. Okay, let me go through the list. Wait, it's a close game. Castle Curse, Dragon's even, Goldie. Actually, no, Gold's not even. It's a 300 for USF, and they have thick vision control, and they're setting up a trap to potentially look for a play. Dark Candle pops the Shirella is a little bit too early. Maybe they want to look to catch up Duralumin here.
Perhaps when it looks like they are backing off instead, as the rest of the team shows up and they have to rescue the Prince. But now it's Imaginary Champ diving in from 3 of the enemy team, and none of his teammates are there to help him. Astro Hailstorm is now caught in the Death Realm. Unfortunately, that does not look like a fight he will win, so he opts to run away. The Renata ultimate will catch quite a few of them, but it doesn't even matter. Imagine Champ goes down, followed up by Mint. It is a bloodbath here for the favor of USF White. Astro Hailstorm is the next one to fall. Prince, no front line in front of him, will not be able to turn this around, as he is now rooted up and just taken out. Not even the power of Renata Glass can keep you alive. Gang Candle running away for his life, but it doesn't look like he will be able to save this game. USF White taking out the Nexus turrets. They will move on to the Nexus and will take this series.
And it looks like you'll finally get a prediction right. Good on you, my friend.
I did it. I got a prediction right. I did not go 2 weeks winless. I mean, I'm like 1-4. That's still not,
that's wonderful.
Still not a great record, but I am on the board. That's what's important.
Having a good time here. We got the victory screen on lock, and USF are able to take this series. I'm so happy and so glad for them that they're able to pull it. I'm sorry that my camera did not show up. Okay, so I apologize for the explanation. I have wireless headphones, and they're USB wireless. And so I only have 3 available USB ports, 1 for my mic, 1 for my headset, and 1 for my camera. And so I had to use my camera, to charge my headset because I was running out of battery. So I don't have my face cam anymore for at least the time being. However, that's because my face was blown off by how amazing these games were.
Oh yeah. Why didn't you just say that? That would have been so much more sense.
yeah, of course, yeah.
But looks like I am the only face that you guys will see for the next little while. I don't believe we have an interview set up for today. But looks like we also did receive some viewers from our second channel. So welcome to those who have just joined us. Apologies that you have missed this series, but it was a banger of a series, no doubt. 2-1 in favor of USF White, taking out their opponents in Ascendant 5. We can't see my lovely partner here, Slatty, for the time being, as his camera has gone down. Oh, it looks like he's back.
I'm back, baby. Let's go.
So perfect. So he's back. No
Mhm.
problem at all. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, what are your impressions of this banger series that we have just had between these two teams?
You put it simply, it's a banger. I went to 3 games. The last game was like on a razor's edge, and then USF fight were able to pull it out, and it was a reverse sweep in the set. Actually, I thought Ascendant 5 played really solid game 1 and just messed up a little bit game 2, but I think USF right really shut me up and said, "Hey, you are wrong, my good sir. We are the better team here," and they proved it by winning this series. Really exciting action, and I hope to see more come out of both these teams in the future games that we spectate.
Absolutely. So we don't have an interview, unfortunately, for today. However, just for some closing statements here, Slatty, if you had to pick one person to be your MVP, who would it be this time around?
It's Chulane, the Mordekaiser. Yeah, I think I got it right. Yeah, it's the
I think you
Mordekaiser.
got it right, yeah.
Yeah, he solo won game 2. I don't. They solo won game 2, and game 3 they played well. I don't think there's too much to say or get in depth, but Mordekaiser was literally the only reason they're in this series. So their performance was immaculate game 2, and they shut me the hell up, and I really appreciate that because now I know that Mordekaiser jungle can be pretty effective in certain situations.
Absolutely. In my opinion, I'm actually giving my MVP over to Cheese. I think he performed as best as he could in all 3 games, just overall. Absolutely, I believe the hero of Game 2 was QQLeth. I definitely messed that up, but I believe it was Mordekaiser for Game 2. Just unfortunately, I just don't think. I just think Cheese was a bit more consistent over the course of all 3 games. So overall, I'm giving my MVP over to Cheese. However, definitely was a banger series overall. I was really excited to be here. Thank you to all of you who joined us for this broadcast. Any closing statements for you, Slatty, before we sign off for the night?
No closing statements at all. Just a banger series. I think it spoke for itself. Go follow me on twitter.com at SlattyV3, baby. Let's go. Get me up to, I don't know, 70 followers. That would be really appreciated. Okay, anyways.
All right. Well, then, all of you do have your assignments. Go over to Twitter, throw a follow over to Slatty. Let's get him up to 70 followers, boys? But for all of us here at Risen Esports, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We had a blast of a time. I hope to see you all next week. Be sure to tune in next time we are live. But for now, congratulations to USF White, and everyone have a good night.